order. It's now 6:01. Everyone, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. We need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. For announcements, just another reminder that this is the board's meeting held in public. This is not a public board meeting, and we are here to conduct business. I'll move on to accolades. Congratulations on the IDX challenge for Spirit Lake Elementary, who took 3rd place, John Brown Elementary, that took 2nd place, Betty Kiefer Elementary, who took the Judge's Choice Award, Lakeland Middle School, who took 1st place in the senior division, and Timberlake Middle School, who took 2nd place. So. Are there any other accolades?
I will have IBOB results at the next board meeting. I popped over there before the meeting tonight because we're doing our elementary district competition today, and the gym over there is packed, and a lot of parents and several teams from each of our elementary schools, and the kids were so excited. So
great.
I'll bring that next time.
Okay, so we'll move on to public input. First up is Allison Knoll.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Allison Knoll, and I'm a teacher at Lakeland High School. I've been an employee of the district for 18 years, teaching for the last 15. I've been a 2-time recipient of the Lakeland High School Teacher of the Year Award, and also a 2-time recipient of the Secondary District Level Teacher of the Year. I am so proud of the work that I have done while at Lakeland. But unfortunately, this is my letter of resignation. In my 4 years as Student Council Advisor, I have orchestrated fundraisers totaling over $120,000 that went back to this community. I started the broadcast journalism program at Lakeland and grew the numbers in the theater department year after year. I will always remember the students who not only became a part of my life, but my children's as well, playing cops and robbers with them after rehearsal or helping them with math homework that I didn't understand. My experiences inside the 4 walls of my classroom have been amazing. It's everything outside of that has become the problem. After much reflection, I've come to the conclusion that I'm tired of having to fight for what I know is best for my students. I'm tired of having my judgment questioned, even though I'm one of the most conservative drama teachers in the area, as to what I believe students should be reading and performing. I'm tired of teachers being ripped apart on social media for just doing our jobs. I have loved my job for 13 years and had every intention to retire from here. Unfortunately, I've been teaching here for 15. Over the last 2 years, instead of being treated like professionals, like the experts in our field, we've been treated more as a nuisance when we show up to meetings to share our experiences and be part of the solution. The biggest problem? This school board doesn't trust the teachers that they hired to do their jobs. There is such a toxic environment of distrust. Every decision we make is questioned and scrutinized. We can't hold a fundraiser for our programs or the community without going to a committee for approval. We can't play anything over a 5-minute video for our struggling learners without it going to a committee for approval. We can't even let our students read the Coeur d'Alene Press, our local newspaper, because a committee of patrons decided it should be put on the not approved curriculum list. My students have to wait weeks in limbo because I can't pick a play until I know exactly who will be in my class. And the approval process could take up to a full 2 months, wherein I'm not allowed to put anything else in front of them that's not already approved. The fact that this process still exists shows that you have no idea how our classrooms work or how to adequately educate students. You are tying our hands so that we're unable to do what's best for these kids. As educators, our responsibility is to equip students with the skills they need to succeed in the real world. This involves not only providing them with the knowledge, but also teaching them how to apply it effectively. However, instead of focusing on this mission, we are having to devote all of our time to appeasing vocal taxpayers by doing things like removing books from our libraries and debating the legitimacy of classic literature. We aren't preparing students to have civilized conversations with people who may believe differently than they do. We are sheltering students to believe that there is only one right way of thinking, and that is so dangerous. While all of these things have been problematic, your lack of a plan B for the November 5th levy vote was unprofessional, and quite frankly, that was the last straw. It only deepened the mistrust between the community and the board, further dividing people instead of bringing them together. In very public board meetings, we heard things like teachers should just be happy that they have jobs no matter what the pay. And teachers should really be doing more, like emptying their own trash and acting as crossing guards. We aren't doing enough. What a slap in the face. Those are the perfect comments if your goal is to devalue the work that teachers do and erode any remaining trust between us. This rhetoric doesn't just harm morale, it creates an environment where teachers feel disrespected and unappreciated, and it undermines the collaborative spirit that should exist between the board, educators and staff, and the community. This used to be a district that parents sought out, and now I believe you're going to see a mass exodus. You could blame the taxpayers for not passing the levy, or you could take ownership and ask yourself if you yourself not voting for the levy could have played a role in it not passing. If you not going to your constituents and explaining why this vote was so important has something to do with the state that we're in. My question to you is, what is your end game? Why did you run for this school board? If your answer is to make Lakeland better, you're failing. In my 18 years in this district, I have never experienced such animosity. And I can tell you that it is felt by all: administrators, teachers, support staff, parents, and the most heartbreaking of all, the students. You need to support your teachers. You need to stand up for your teachers, or you will lose your teachers. Yes, you need taxpayers, but I would argue that you need quality teachers just as much. Whether or not the levy passes, I'm afraid that the damage has already been done. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Anita Dipsick.
Community member, and I'm speaking to the bills list. It's page number 5, and it's the second check on there. I don't think the district should be paying for a resource that supports equity as a basis for grading and uses focus on implicit bias, states that it's justice-centered, and uses race as an equity tool. Two things came to mind. I'm speaking about the book that's called Grading for Equity, I believe is what it's called. Two thoughts came to mind when I saw the book on this list. Yes, it's only $25, but we have to start containing costs somewhere. But more importantly, DEI and the woke agenda are alive and well in parts of Lakeland, and our federal and state governments have both said that schools are no place for these ideologies. If a teacher wants to purchase this kind of resource on their own, that's their choice. But if you ask the patrons of Lakeland if they want to pay for this equitable resource, explaining what this entails, my thought is that it would be a resounding no. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Carrie Paquette.
My name is Carrie Paquette. This is my 8th year as the College and Career Advisor at Lakeland High School. I know some of you have already heard me speak a few times ago, but there were a couple board members who weren't here last time. And since this is on the agenda again, I'd like the opportunity to speak to all of the members of the board. In 2015, the Governor's Task Force identified proper college and career advising as one of the key factors for student success, stating students and parents are entitled to better information on these opportunities. Subsequently, Idaho Code 33-1212A was enacted, and the legislature provided specific state funding to districts to expand or develop new college and career advising programs beginning in 2016. Our district has had college and career advisors at Timberlake and Lakeland since, and receives this funding from the state each year based on enrollment. The language in sections 1 and 3 of the legislation state that college and career advising is essential and requires trained personnel so students can be college and career ready upon graduation. While there is some flexibility in implementation, the law does not suggest that this funding should be absorbed into general counseling services. In Section 2 of the legislation, the inclusion of specific roles like college and career advisors indicates that the legislature sees value in dedicated personnel focused on this work. Section 4 states that schools are required to notify parents about the availability of college and career services, further reinforcing that the state intended for these programs to exist and be actively utilized. In the FAQs from the State Board of Education in 2016, it asks, can the dollars be used to support existing college and career advising or mentoring programs? The State Board's response was, quote, the intent of the funding is to expand existing programs or establish new programs and is not to be used for supplanting resources that are currently supporting guidance counseling, college and career advising, or mentoring programs. Idaho continues to prioritize this dedicated advising. In Governor Little's 2025 budget highlights, he recommends to, quote, double the funding for college and career advisors to strengthen advising for all high school students. This prioritization and his direct reference to college and career advisors aligns with the intent of the legislation. College and career advisors in high schools are a common and accepted practice across the state and in Region 1, from Coeur d'Alene to Sandpoint, Moscow, Lakeland, and Post Falls, who all have a dedicated college and career advisor in addition to counselors, because these are not interchangeable roles. The intent of this state funding was to expand or establish college and career programs rather than to fund existing counseling positions. Counselors already exceeding the recommended 250-to-1 ratio and managing full caseloads themselves cannot also absorb the full-time state-mandated work of a college and career advisor without compromising their own essential work. This role requires someone with dedicated expertise and training to ensure students receive the guidance and opportunities this funding was designed to provide, and that Lakeland families have come to expect and rely on as an essential service. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board for public input? Okay.
I need copies of everything that was shared tonight and social supply.
Okay. I believe Anita did. Did Allison Knoll give you what she read?
She gave me a copy of her resignation, and I will provide that to the clerk of the board.
Perfect.
What about?
And then Carrie's. Yeah.
I do not have hers. Sherry.
No, she's over there.
Okay.
I'm right here.
Would you mind providing a copy to the clerk of what you read to the board?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to reports. We have the financial report. Do any of the trustees care to have discussion on the financial report that was presented?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
What is the capital outlay in Fund 231 that put us over budget in that fund? It's $25,274. We only have a budget of $15,000 in that.
Right, so the tricky thing with Fund 231 is we estimate what we think is going to happen there. That's also where we run insurance claims through. So sometimes we'll receive additional funding in there. I'd have to pull a financial report. I can get that to you later this evening. I just, off the top of my head, I don't know because it wasn't a recent expenditure. But we do run insurance claims through there, so I have a feeling it might be related to that, but I will double check. That's one of the budgets that through a budget revision we'll work on getting those amounts trued up with the activity in the budget for this year.
Does anyone else have any other questions with regard to what we were presented with?
Not on the report, no.
That's all I have. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda, we have minutes of the previous meeting, minutes of subcommittee meetings to be accepted, HR items, regular and special bills. Is there any conversation to have on the minutes of the previous meetings?
No.
Okay. Any comments on the minutes of the subcommittee meetings to be accepted? Okay. HR items, we have the resignation, board book memo, and applications. Do we have any comments or conversations on those?
I was wondering if we got any exit interview responses from any of these people, or if they were given the exit interviews to fill out.
Yeah, they always have the option to request an exit interview.
So we don't give it to them unless they
It's
request.
it's on their exit sheet that
Okay.
when they go out that they can request an exit interview with HR.
Okay.
We were getting quarterly the reports. Are we not doing that anymore?
I'm not really getting requests for exit interviews, and so
Okay,
I've had a couple, but
Okay.
I'm not getting requests.
So to clarify what Trustee Grissom said, you don't hand it out unless they request?
Right, it's on their
Okay.
exit sheet that says here are these items, and then you can request an exit interview from HR.
Okay. I do think there's a new hire, Trenton Goucher, as listed as a head girls soccer coach at Timberlake High School. He's the boys.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Don't know if that matters with anything you're doing, but it's not correct on here. So that was my only comment on that. Anything else on HR items? Okay. So moving on to the regular and special bills.
If you wouldn't mind, can I circle back to the Fund 231 item?
Okay.
It is for the installation of the video board that was donated by STCU. The funds for that ran through Fund 231 and we were fully reimbursed for that.
Have we not received the funds?
We have, yeah, it's in the revenue for
It's
that.
just the,
Okay.
this is just showing expenditures, so it puts the expenditures over.
So it was the video board for Lakeland High School.
Okay. Thank
Our
you.
revenue should be equally over.
Yes.
I am curious on the BMO expenditure detail. There are two transactions for laptop and card reader for Jody Nelson. One is $1869.99, one is $1630.51. Did we buy this person 2 laptops and 2 card readers?
It's for her CTE program.
Okay. So it's not for her.
No,
it's
for her
program.
program. Yes.
Okay.
They was purchased using CTE funds.
And then what is funds for learning?
That's our E-rate program. So we pay to be part of E-rate, but they give us huge reimbursements. For example, our internet service that we have, the amount that we receive from them in reimbursement towards our cost for internet, and then what we receive from the state basically makes it a net zero expense to us. And then the recent wireless access points RFP that we did for the buildings, we're getting a 60% reimbursement. It's a government program.
Okay, so it costs us
$10,000 a year. Well,
it-
11, yeah, this year.
Okay, and that's an annual fee.
It's an annual fee to
Okay.
be part of E-rate in order to apply for governmental funds to help
Okay.
offset our expenses. Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions by anyone?
There's a bill here for Crisis Prevention Institute online course. Who is that for?
Each of our buildings has a crisis team. We are required to have people trained in the building for de-escalation and the proper restraint if a child needs to be restrained. And so those teams have to be retrained every so often. Kelsey can speak to this more. But so part of that is just the renewal of training for staff.
Kelsey Badger, Director of Special Programs. For the cost of that is to retrain our 4 trainers. So myself, my consulting teacher, and my 2 BCBAs are trained, and then we do train the trainers. So then we go.
So this covers 5 people?
Yeah, and it allows them then to
Oh,
train our
training
staff
hours.
so that we're not having to bring a trainer in.
Does it cover 5 people or 4 people? Okay,
4?
4 people.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it said 4 plus yourself, I'm sorry.
That's paid
What
for
is-
with special or professional development funds from the state.
What is Pine Grove Consulting Tech 36-month Sophos Extreme Protection for $38,000?
That is a software that IT is using to help monitor student usage of Chromebooks.
Isn't that our
that's our
Our firewall, sorry.
antivirus program.
Yeah, the 2 mixed up.
yeah.
My apologies.
Okay.
Antivirus.
It also filters out, it's supposed to filter out some inappropriate sites as well.
I don't think it's working. Okay. Any other questions for anyone from anyone?
I was thinking I had one more. You asked one of the ones that I had.
Oh, okay.
But
Okay.
I'm not seeing it right now. Oh, I know. Did I see 2 bills on here for snow removal?
Mm-hmm.
Two different contracts?
Yes, we have 2 contracts, one that's for down here and then one that covers our up north schools in Apple and potentially Garwood. So we use 2 different companies for that.
Well, you know this is my pet peeve. So are we looking at ways to dispense with that in the future?
Facilities Director Tim Haig will speak to that. And
You want me now?
If you can.
Okay. Tim Haig, Facilities Director. Yeah, so some of the things we're looking at with snow removal is when I'm seeing these bills are extremely high. And so some of the things we're looking at is what can we do locally in-house, and we're going to be shorthanded this year anyway. So we are looking at getting like a dispersal, like ice melt for the back of one of the rigs that we can do local schools down here. Next year when we go to bid out for snow removal, because there is so much, we can't do it all in-house. But we're gonna put it out to bid, definitely. I want to see more contractors involved in this, because some of the prices that we're paying, and I would say their default is they trigger on 1 to 3 inches. I would rather see them trigger on 3 inches plus, because we can drive in an inch of snow. We don't need to plow it and pay $130 an hour for removal if it's minor, or on a weekend where it's going to melt before Monday. So this is something that we're looking at for next year. Luckily we had a light winter, so we're under budget, but I think we can do better next year for sure.
Thank you, Tim.
You bet.
I know that the city does a 3 inches and actively snowing is
Yeah.
what they go with. So
Any other questions from anyone?
No.
Then I'll entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay. Moving into old business, we have the superintendent follow-up. Just clarification on the IHSAA guidelines, you state girls can play girls sports and boys can play boys sports, but that girls cannot play football and boys cannot play volleyball?
I was just giving an example. So, just, you know, it came up, can girls play football? And so the answer to that is no.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't think that's a good idea.
I wanted
But-
to specifically answer Trustee Jones.
Is that's from Idaho's High School Association?
Yep.
Because we've always had girls play in lower levels of
Right.
football.
I don't know the reason. My guess is safety, but that's a guess.
Well, usually they don't make it past freshman year. So.
You state you reached out to Target River. Moving forward, all ads will say paid for by citizens for quality education.
Trustee Grissom at the last meeting asked if we could make sure that that's on there because patrons were concerned that maybe we had used taxpayer dollars to pay for those. So.
Okay. I thought, I guess I'm a little confused. Because I learned at the town hall meeting at Garwood that the campaign with Target River isn't about raising awareness for the levy, it's about building trust. But the board was told that the funding for the levy awareness campaign was coming from the Lakeland Education Foundation, and now
Citizens for Quality Education dollars sit within the Lakeland Education Foundation account, so that there are several different entities within that, so that the people who donate get it's a 501c3, so they get the tax write-off, but the actual account within the Lakeland Education Foundation bank account, there's a line item in there that says Citizens for Quality Education.
Foundation is a vehicle, conduit for people to donate those funds as passed through.
Yeah.
okay.
I had some up here. Are you done? Or?
Yeah, I'm done. If there's no further discussion.
Well, I'm still concerned about the 100% graduation rate because you can't find that anywhere. I really feel like somewhere we need to make a disclaimer how we arrived at that number. I mean, I think our graduation rate numbers are fine. I don't know why we have to come up with this. I guess here's my thing is we say every child matters in every situation, but yet we removed kids from the numbers so we could get to 100%. I mean,
We didn't remove.
you remove the life skills from the, that's what you said last time, you remove the life skill kids to get, because they can stay beyond the 18
Right.
to graduate, and that's how you got to the 100%.
So when they get to that 21, then that's when they're graduating. So
Right.
so that when they're 18 and we know they're staying till 21, we don't count them in that class. We count them in the class where they're actually going to graduate. I'm not trying to inflate numbers, or all I want the community to know is that we account for as many of the people who move in those 4 years as we can, but sometimes we can't get all of the documentation. But 100% of our kids are graduating on time, and so that's
well, they can't reconcile the numbers. So I've had a few discussions at the federal level and at the state level. The 100% doesn't exist anywhere for any of the high schools. And the other thing being,
Well, as my understanding, the 100% applies to the senior class. When they start the year and end the year, 100% who started the year graduated.
yeah, well, you don't have to explain to me. It's the public that wants to know. They're asking me. So what I'm saying is they go looking for the number and they come to me, and I said, well, it's because we're looking at like a cohort of these kids that came in together. All I'm saying is we need to explain that to the public, because when they look for 100%, they cannot find it. And the other thing I'm being asked also is exactly where did we cut the $2 million? And I thought, well, that would be a good thing to put on the levy page so people could see. That way I can just direct them, you know, to the page, and they can get all the information there. Because they were asking me for specifics, and I told them I would ask tonight, and then I would get back to them.
Perfect. And actually at the town hall meeting that we did last week at Garwood, that was one of the recommendations for me to put in my, I start with just a short, like 5 to 7 minute kind of overview, and that was one of the things that somebody suggested I put in there, so I will also include it in that, but I will put it on the levy page.
I mean, I think the more information we give and the more transparency, I mean, we have nothing to lose, right? I think we just lay it all out on the table and tell them, here's where we cut, here's how we got there, here's, I mean, you know, because like I said, you know how the numbers go.
Yes. Yep. We will get both of those things on.
Yeah. The other thing is who is, how is these ads being targeted? Because I've talked to quite a few people outside my zone and none of them have seen the ad, but yet in my zone, the ad drives me crazy. It like lives on YouTube. So I'm curious if there's a saturation based upon the way the community voted or not. I would like to see those numbers back from them.
I can ask that question, but
Yeah.
when we met with them, that's not how it was described to us,
Yeah.
so that anybody within the districts, they put the geofence around the district boundaries, and anybody within the district boundaries who binge watch something on Netflix might see an ad for Lakeland, or it might pop up on their phone.
It would just be nice to know a little bit more
I can
about
ask that question.
yeah, what their targeting is and I mean, are we doing CPM or I mean, like, what are they doing with this? You know, and I know it's sort of, you know, it's paid for by somebody else, but it's still the district, right? So the district is still given the permission to include all of its whomever is portrayed in the video, students, teachers, all of that. Even though somebody, you know what I'm saying? It's sort of
No,
they were asking me and
we had donations to pay for it, but it's still a district
Right.
initiative. Yeah, so I'll reach out and ask those questions.
I think that was it. If there's something else, if I miss something, I'll just shoot you an email.
Perfect.
Or something.
Thank you.
I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Follow-up.
Moving on to the financial follow-up.
Chair Thompson, Char Boyd, our Nutrition Services Director, is here tonight if you guys would like to meet him.
Sure, that would be great. Hello.
Hello.
Come on up, Char.
Nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Welcome
meet you.
to the district.
Thank you. Yeah, I started in the middle of January. I'm coming from the Yakima area.
Okay.
Got about 35 years of experience in food and beverage management. Going into my 3rd year with K through 12, so I'm excited to be here and I'm at your service.
Welcome to
Great,
the cold
thank
weather.
you.
It's no longer the Palm Springs.
Yeah. Not so much sunshine, but it's coming, I promise.
Yeah.
And some former director we had, I think, recommended you, is that right?
Possibly. Possibly, Kevin.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's been tremendous support for me too. He's still with Chartwell's, and I've got him on speed dial. And reach out to him quite often.
Good man.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Char's going to come to the April meeting when we bring our summer food service program recommendation, so you'll get to see him again. Thank you for that.
So we're not going to provide a summer base program?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the numbers just aren't there. We attempted to try it again last year. Post Falls is not offering one. Coeur d'Alene's going to offer a very minor one. It seems as the community has found other resources, there's just not enough to make it break even. And I know that sounds awful because it's not always about money, but that's supposed to be a self-sustaining program. So I need it to break even.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, unfortunate, but like I say, if they're not using it, we can't.
Right.
Gotta make sure we're all in the same spot.
So you provided for clarification for Trustee Bain on the STEM charter transportation billing, where, I suppose it would be beneficial to know where are we transporting them to? I mean, we have trip numbers, but that doesn't.
Yeah, this isn't exactly what I was requesting. I was asking how, like, what their bills were, how they were billed.
I would be happy to bring that back at a future meeting. I was trying to be as concise as possible to show what we built. I will work at, Chelsea has done the legwork with our transportation director, Jessica, to get that information. So I will make sure to update that and bring it at the next meeting.
Okay.
I apologize for not giving enough information.
We have it all. When we were talking about this, trying to figure out which piece of information you guys were wanting, so it just got too small instead of all the information you were talking about.
On the enrollment report, I'm just trying to clarify. The enrollment shows a total in yellow, accumulated total of 4602. Okay. But when you go to the attendance and you go to enrollment in the yellow, it says 4564.
So the yellow on that one is actually, that's the previous year, the 4564. The yellow total is the attendance for that snapshot in time. So we had 4277 students. Right below it is the total enrollment of 4602. So they do match up. The yellow line on this one is just showing that the total attendance for that date and time was the 4277.
Snapshot.
No, I understand the 4277, but right next to that column it says enroll. You're telling me that enroll is for last year, not this year? Because those enrollment numbers match up on top. I'm just trying to figure out why we have two different numbers.
It just lined up with the previous year there.
I'm wondering if, sorry, Chelsea Persley, accounting specialist. I'm wondering if maybe my spreadsheet has lost the formula.
Okay.
So it might have not pulled in correctly.
Okay, so they are supposed to equal, correct?
Yeah, the enrollment
Okay.
should match what is up above. Yes.
That's what I thought, but I
yes,
wasn't sure.
I think my formula has not pulled for some reason or another.
We'll double check that and make sure it's correct going forward.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions or conversations on the financial report?
I don't have any.
No, there's an ad that's in the purchased services that should be in the publishing legal ad for 24-25 concrete projects.
Okay, I will make sure that's moved.
That one.
I do think it's worth highlighting that our two comprehensive high schools have pretty high attendance this last month of 96 and 95.9% average daily attendance. That's kind of, those are pretty high numbers, especially at high school level.
And I'm curious why, and maybe you can help me understand, with the proposed budget, proposed projects, etc., when we've taken money away and allocated it towards something else, but then we're not going with that, we're going to go, why we're not putting the money back where it was?
It takes board direction, so that's something I'm bringing to the board tonight to approve putting that money back into that line item, so it's one of the agenda items for this evening.
Okay, so when you come to us and say we're not going to do this anymore in this direction, we then need to tell you again that we'll go ahead and put it back?
Yep, so I'm bringing you a whole rebudget on that for this evening for consideration.
Okay.
I just need board direction because it is changing how we anticipated spending the funds.
Okay.
So I guess I just need permission to move it.
Okay. All right, Any further questions? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the facilities update.
Oh wait, I did have one more question.
Not yet.
Sorry.
You're good.
Sorry. What are we? Oh, those are. Never mind. Oh, well, there's like an Architects West bill that we just paid in February for Athol Elementary. I thought we were done with.
So Architects
all of
West is
that.
still having to deal with the lawsuit with Emmerich and the bond payout, and so we're getting billed for the services related to them representing us on that front. And it's both Athol and Spirit Lake. There should be a charge in both of them. Are you looking at the board approved projects, or are you looking at plant facility levy?
The board facility projects.
Yeah, so the board facility projects is related to the non-payment of Emmerich to the subs that did all the work. And so there's a lot going on behind the scenes with legal that Architects West has also had to put time into. And so we're receiving a bill for their services for that work, which in turn can be part of our claim on the bond.
Okay.
Are we going to move on to facilities? Okay, so we'll move on to facilities.
I don't have your glasses. Do you want me to make it bigger?
Do you have any questions or conversation we'd like to have on the facilities update?
Tim, can you give us a bit more insight into the work you're doing with the Vista on changing out lights and so forth?
Yes, absolutely. Again, Tim Haig, Facilities Director. So we have been working with an electrician, B&H, and I've been working with the Vista as well. And it actually kind of started a little bit with our junior tackle program. They started looking into this for the middle school. And when talking with the Vista, they actually have a program to retrofit any lighting that we have that doesn't comply with what their current energy efficiency model is. They are flipping the bill 100%. They've gone through every school, and these guys have been amazing because they did it last minute. Vista changed the program 3-4 times on us. Kevin with B&H has been Johnny on the spot with every single one of it. He went through all of our schools, he cataloged every single light and got everything ordered. And again, Vista's paying for everything. So to give you an example, some of these type lights with the bulbs got replaced a few years back with LED bulbs. And the new program is replacing the entire fixture with an LED fixture, which is going to be good because Timberlake about caught on fire last week, 2 weeks ago,
2 weeks ago, yeah.
with an LED bulb. So they had two fires. One was a motor that went out, but the second one was an LED bulb in a wrong fixture that literally caught fire. Luckily it didn't spread, it just smoldered, burnt out. And then I think it was the very next day that whole light fixture got replaced anyway. But going back to the program as a whole, they're doing all the schools. They're
With
doing
the exception of the schools that are on Kootenai Electric.
Kootenai Electric, which are Garwood and Athol. And they're also doing the stadium lights at the high schools. We're going to be doing the stadium lights at the middle school, and this is all included in the Vista program. It's
at no cost to us.
No cost to us at all.
Including installation?
Including
installation.
Yes.
B&H is getting reimbursed by Avista for everything. He's actually donating some of his time and crew, but he reassured me that they are making enough money to make it worthwhile, but they're not charging what they would normally charge. So Avista would say pay a percentage of the program, and then the recipient would pay a percentage. B&H is taking care of all that for us.
I would be remiss if I didn't point out that our principal, Everlyn
Yes.
up at Timberlake High School also was the one that got us started in the schools. Lakeland Junior Tackle wanted to do the football field lights here at the middle school, and Ryan was able to get them started kind of at Timberlake High School, and then it spread from there.
And it spread quickly.
Yeah, which is fantastic to be able to take a part of these rebate programs and work with community partner to get all of our schools flipped in the manner that we are.
Did Avista give you any data or information about what difference it will make in utility costs?
They did. So there was a breakdown, and each school was a little bit different, but on average, I want to say it was 15-20% energy usage was savings for using the all LED program. So it benefits them for us to use less energy because they're selling it to other people.
Right.
California probably,
Yeah.
but we're recipients of a great program, and it's amazing. If you've been in Timberlake recently, most of their lights are all done, and their stadium lights are done, and they look great.
And we don't have the flickering fluorescent that gives kids
Correct. So they
headaches
don't have the
anymore,
flickering,
so that's
and then
nice too.
the new ballast, it's an all-in-one system, has a switch to change the actual color of the lighting, so you can brighten it up or you can dim it down just by a flick of a switch. So I know some of the teachers like a little dimmer classroom experience.
Is this flick of a switch, are teachers able to access it, or are they going to
It's just on the outside. So if they requested it, we could do it for them.
Okay.
I'm not asking teachers to get up on chairs or anything, but
That would be against,
OSHA regulations.
So please don't get on chairs to
Yes.
change your lights.
but they are adjustable to a certain degree.
Okay. Okay, go
Got the
ahead.
lights. So the lights, if the light fails, is it a replacement of a bulb or the entire unit?
The entire unit. Yeah, it's basically it's LED strips in a unit,
Right.
but their life expectancy is, I don't have the exact numbers, but LED is,
Do we know how much those units run?
I think they're, I want to say they were $200.
I have an invoice on my desk from the initial purchase for Timberlake High School. I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
I was just curious, yeah, because wasn't sure if they were the whole unit fails or if there was a bulb. Okay.
But in the long run, it's going to save us quite a bit in energy usage and replacement bulbs.
Right.
But there will be a point where we'll have to change one or two out, for sure.
Okay, cool. How are we gonna get Apple and Garwood done?
So I looked at Kootenai, and right now they don't have any programs that match this.
Can we call them and tell them that every other school in our district was done by Avista and we have 2 schools that aren't?
We can definitely attempt
Guilt trip them.
We can definitely attempt it.
I
It
mean,
doesn't
we
hurt to ask.
all pay and do the roundup, right? When on your
Yeah.
bill.
But we will reach out to Kootenai
Yeah, we
Electric.
could ask,
Yeah.
you know.
Um,
The cost wouldn't be that big. And
It's
it would
actually-
be great if everybody got it done.
It's pretty surprising the cost that's associated with the whole building switchover. I will have to get a number from Kevin, but I would probably
It was
say
quite
upwards
big.
of, I think Timberlake High School itself was 400,000.
Yeah, that's pretty close, including the stadium lights.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm assuming close to $1 million, but I'm just conjecture. I need to make sure I get the right number on it.
He was definitely over $1 million for what he's putting into
For
it.
all of the.
Yeah.
You know, what would be good, I know everybody's got so much on their plate, but tied to the levy page, maybe a link or something, you know, what we've done in the last few years, because I don't know.
We do have a lot of this on our community, I'm sorry, Trustee
Right.
Grissom, to interrupt, but we do have a lot of this on our community page, so we'll make sure that this, as the schools get done, we'll add them, but linking it to the levy page would be great too.
Yeah, just so they know with a little blurb about what, you know, here's all the things.
And I think they did post the Timberlake photos recently as well, but yeah, the levy page would be good.
Because we have a huge population that is in the district, but they don't have anybody attending or working in the district, you know? So they're not in that loop.
Yeah, we bought 2 banners that say this project was completed using no taxpayer dollars. Thank you to our sponsors, and we have 2 of them, I think, and so we're just kind of moving them around the district as new projects are being done, so that people are seeing that there are a lot of really great things that we have done, and a lot of it was with no taxpayer dollars because it's fully funded by community members and donations.
For example, we have one on Lakeland Middle School's fence right now because of all the field work that was done by Lakeland Junior Tackle. That was an upwards of $200,000 project that they donated to the district. So we currently have that on our fence because we've gotten some questions on how that was paid for. So
and also over at
the bathroom,
the Rotary
soccer
field.
Concessions bathroom.
Yeah, building.
Yeah.
So we are trying also to have something out visible for the community members to see as they drive by.
Yeah, so we can direct everybody to go to that page and check it out. It's all there.
Can you clue us in as to what happened to the fence over at the high school?
Saturday morning in the snow.
Yeah. So a
community member,
a local resident, basically just slid on the snow into the fence. I've already been in touch with the insurance company. I filed a claim, and I have Idaho Fence coming out Friday to do a bid on that so we can get it repaired. Yep.
We're on it.
Yep.
I knew you would be.
Yeah, that was a shocker to
That's
find.
an obvious one.
Yes. We need some concrete down there.
No, that would have been worse. I would have felt so bad for the car.
Oh, I know. And luckily, he was okay, and he had
a
minor with him, and they both drove away, so it was fine. Just messed our fence
just
up.
looks lovely, so lovely.
Can you kind of clue us in on the working with Tremco Construction on aging and grading roofs for future replacements, long-range planning?
Yes, absolutely. So Tremco is they're a worldwide company. They do major buildings around the area. They came to me a couple weeks ago, said that they do a grading system to help you long-term plan. So they're actually in the process of doing that. They were out today, they'll be out tomorrow. And what they're doing is they're scanning our roofs and looking for, age, any damage, anything like that. While they were on Lakeland High School roof, and they're just up there measuring, this isn't a cost to us at all. They're just doing that to scan everything and have a plan and help us predict long-term roof replacement. Well, when they were up on Lakeland, they actually found a bunch of holes in the TPO roofing, and while they were there, they just fix them. So what they do is they set us up and say, okay, here's each one of your schools, here's the roofs, here's the kind of roofing, here's the square footage, here's this addition, that addition, if they were done separately, and here's what we think your longevity is. So they're in for kind of a long haul with the roof. So if they say this roof looks like it's got 10 years life left, they would essentially come back in 7, 8, 9 years and reassess it and see where we're at. So they can give us a long-term plan to help us, one, budget, and 2, what's failing faster than something else. Now, granted, through this program, they're obviously going to want us to use them for the roofing. However, Jimmy's Roofing, who's been doing a lot of the roofing for us, is actually part of the program. So they've been in contact about the ages of the roofs, any damage that they've found. They've been talking to Jimmy's Roofing. And then they're going to present us a report that we can share with you as well. Okay. But we're not locked into any kind of contracts with them. We're not paying them for the service at all.
Well, I would be very interested in looking at the report in comparison to when the roof was actually redone, because we just went and re-roofed this entire district.
Yeah.
So,
correct.
That would be very interesting to see the comparison on that.
And we have had some issues with the roofs over this last winter. Little ones, some ice dams, and then, like I said, they found a couple holes in TPO. But the more we can keep on top of it now, the longer they're going to last.
And so you're saying that the Sensi contract we have is a good contract?
Yeah.
We do not currently have a Senski contract.
Correct. So I know this has been brought up before my time, and I'll just tell you what I've found since I've been talking to them and talking with the facilities, the activities directors and principals of the schools. So Christine in our office, she had done a full report on what it would cost to actually buy the materials and then get the equipment set up to be able to apply the materials. The problem with a lot of the materials that they use on the field, it's liquid, and you have to have an applicator's license and a separate insurance policy for that. Well, kind of similar to the de-icer, I found that we can get it from somebody else a little bit cheaper. So in this case, I guess that doesn't make sense. We can do broadcast of granular materials, but the broadleaf and the things like that to kill the dandelions and keep the grass looking green and stuff like that needs the actual spray so that it actually attacks the broadleaf and kills it. And then to properly treat the grass, and what they do is their aeration, the dethatching, and we're actually doing some of the dethatching ourselves. The cost to do, excuse me, the cost to do 2 treatments a year was $26,000, I believe, and that was cheaper than what we could actually spin up for, plus manpower. They came back and said they could do 4 treatments because they hadn't been treating enough in the past. And I know there were a lot of complaints from some of the schools with the way the fields looked. For example, the baseball field wasn't even on a schedule to do until May. Well, baseball's over by that time. I mean, they're playing baseball right now. And what we found is that the dandelion, the bloom and everything happens in March, 1st of April. Nothing was getting done until May, and there were a lot of complaints. So when I talked to Senski, and I know they had got another, they had looked at another company as well, and these guys were the most cost effective. And I've got junior tackle program here that is actually going to kick in to pay for the middle school field, part of Betty Kiefer, and I think part of John Brown as well. So they are going to kick back some money for that. And then I talked to the baseball program up north in Timberlake, and they're actually taking care of the infield. So we just have to focus on the outfield. So we're able to pare back some of it and do it in-house. And I know over here, these guys, their baseball team, 2 weeks ago, they had the whole team out there working on the field. They had the kids out there, the coaches, Matt Neff was out there. They were all raking, shoveling, fixing up their infield. And then with the Senski contract, we can get on top of the issues that we have with the dandelions because they're so prevalent, and be able to treat it 4 times a year for essentially the same price that we would be doing it for the 2 times a year.
So it's more cost effective.
It is more cost effective, and they have the license, the insurance, the liability,
the equipment,
and the equipment.
Poor bees, we're gonna kill them all off. Dandelions, that's their first fruit.
It is.
And their annual, so I mean, the crop you get is the crop they came, but anyways. Lupin Lane in Silver Meadows looks tremendous. We have that corner lot out there, it looks so good. I couldn't believe how great it looks.
Yeah.
I don't know when that got done, but
They did
yeah,
a good job on it.
So the
So
guys
much
spend
better.
a lot of time up there clearing that off and getting it.
yeah, trees were trimmed. I
that's
mean,
that
it's
acreage
beautiful.
maple and apple,
In
just
Apple,
to clarify.
yes.
Yeah.
And we got so Herc Rental has been helping us out with equipment at a very, very, very reduced price. They brought over a massive wood chipper, and I mean something that takes 12-inch
Yeah, it looks
logs,
great
and
out
they
there. I
just-
couldn't believe I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't even realize we had that many trees on that lot. Have you been by? If you guys get a chance, you
yeah,
should.
I'll
It's
have
right
to.
at the corner of Old 95 and Lupin Lane, right where you go into Silver Meadows.
Okay.
It looks so good.
Yes.
It's on our Facebook page as well.
Oh, is it?
Our
Oh,
social
okay.
media has a post on it as well.
With a couple of the guys that were working on the project,
Yeah.
although many more worked on it, but
Then our
those two.
picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kept meaning to bring it up and I was like, oh yeah, that's.
There's also work being done, Mountain View property.
Yeah, so I talked to a homeowner that borders our property out here behind Mountain View, and him and I walked the property, and there's some dead trees that are leaning, that are a little scary, and then a lot of underbrush and things that are down laying on the ground. So what we're gonna do is send some of the guys out there to bring down those snags so that they don't, wind gust knock them down. I know a lot of people walk back there. It's posted no trespassing, but I know people do it anyway. And so if we can take down the hazard, I'd feel a lot better about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can I circle back to Sensky? Is that something the board would like to entertain, or would you like me to bring a separate item for that?
What do you mean?
We do not currently have a Sensky contract. That's something that was part of the budget reduction last year. We left some money in the budget to potentially purchase equipment because at that time the thought would be that we could do it in-house based on a recommendation we had received with Christine and Tim's research, legwork, all of that. They've determined that that's not the most cost-effective method. So I guess I'm seeking, are you all right if we work with Sensky to have them spray our fields?
So did we have a contract with them before?
We do
okay.
not this fiscal year.
But considering the amount of money that's involved, we probably should have a contract.
It would be a contract and it would go out for bid just to make sure we're getting the most equitable price. We would for that dollar amount, it would be 3 requested quotes for it, just to make sure that we're being fair and equitable.
Right.
Do you need that to come back to the board for approval?
Well, yes, if it's
Yes.
a contract,
Perfect.
yes,
Yep.
we need to approve it.
So we'll work on that for the next board meeting. Thank you.
Perfect. You're welcome.
Thank you for such a great report and all
Yes.
the work you're doing. It's fabulous. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can't take credit for the report. Jessica does that.
Well,
I give her the information.
The team did a great job.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to new business.
Oh, is that
We have the supplemental curriculum.
Wow, really short people.
I'm sorry, Lynn. We all can't be tall.
Assistant Superintendent Pasley, my knees. I just have a couple of comments. So there was a written comment about some of the material that there wasn't a digital copy. I did provide the board that digital copy. I didn't feel comfortable copying it because there's definitely copywriting issues and it's not my program and we haven't purchased it. This is something that we have used prior that our high schools are asking to come back to. Is parent permission, and it's in lieu of a fine for a student getting caught vaping. The other piece is if you go, just a reminder that all of these books on here are just books that we've been using for a long time. I'm just continuing with the list to go back and get approval for those things that were, grandfathered in. So we do get parent permission on all of these books. There were some disparaging comments about our teachers listed in some of the comments, and I'm just going to remind everybody this is a really hard time to teach a lot of these concepts. I can't even imagine how our government and economic teachers cover some of the current events in light of everything that's happening in our country. And our teachers work really, really hard to be neutral and to provide both sides and give that perspective. We have a policy around that. So our teachers are doing an amazing job, and again, I don't necessarily think this is the platform. Everybody's allowed their opinion, but this is about giving comments about books. But just felt like I needed to defend our teachers because every single day they're putting themselves out there in light of everything that's going on and trying to give both perspectives and still teach our history and teach all the concepts. And so, you know, I just feel like I needed to defend them.
So those comments that you're talking about, are those viewable by the public? Oh, okay. Because they're not on our, what we got, so I don't know what
Oh,
you're
you have
referring
them.
to.
You can pull them up. If you go to the previous version, it will give you the supplemental list and has all the books with all the comments. If somebody
I'm
puts
scrolling through the PDF, which is what's provided to us in the public, and they're not there. It's just the name of the school, the name of the book, and then, you know, the little bulleted points.
right, that's if you go down to the comments, there's comments in there that talk about in a negative way about our teachers. So the public can view it. I don't censor any of the comments because again, everybody's right to their opinion, but I still feel like I needed to publicly defend our teachers. They're doing an amazing job. Again, we do not have parents opting out of these books. And they're dealing, especially at our high school, with some really hard topics and doing the best they can to be neutral and to provide our students with both perspectives. And the other last comment, and then I'll stop talking. I don't know if it was the last board meeting or the board meeting before, one of the board members requested if there is a cost to something. So even though there is no cost to any of this to the district, if there was like a teacher pay teacher or something where there could potentially be a cost, I just wanted to be transparent about that. This is what it would be. There is no cost to us because this was donated, but even if it's donated, we still bring it to the board for permission. So just being transparent if somebody were to pull this up. I'll shorten this for you when I'm done. Jessica. Thanks.
Can you see the comments?
There is one that's pretty discouraging. It's an opinion-based comment on
Was it the one on a pair of silk stockings?
yeah, that one was pretty which
Oh, so in the concerns, it's not a comment section, it's a concerns section?
Right.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
right, right.
I was looking for comments.
I'm
like,
sorry.
I don't have it. Okay, so in the concern, the bulleted points are what you're referring
Correct.
to. Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
do we have any conversation that we want to have about any of these books or curriculum? I am, I guess, just cautioned on, it looks, the supplemental curriculum that's being requested is online, correct? It's not books, okay. With the exception of these programs that are right here. Okay.
These are the same ones that we had before. Isn't this the same one? A while back I had asked to see from the okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And they're asking to use it. They haven't been using it. They're asking to bring it back because there is, I think it's a $75 fee. And so if they go through this class, I think it's 5 days. It's in lieu, like 5 sessions. It's in lieu of that. So And it is a train the trainer, like our counselors have to be trained in doing it, but it's just trying to save the parents. And then, I mean, obviously it's just trying to, it's more preventative in nature.
We had brought the MOU with Panhandle Health District to continue to teach that class, and the board had asked us if we had formally approved the curriculum, and we couldn't find anywhere where we had, so we...
Yeah, I remembered something like that. Okay.
So we wanted to bring it to you.
Okay. Yeah, 'cause I thought we had looked at it before.
I trust our teachers and I trust our our assistant superintendent, so I move to approve our supplemental curriculum as presented.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Is there any more conversation on the supplemental curriculum?
Just I mean, there's more, but the AI, the Magic AI, if you look at their data retention and and there's quite a few concerning things about it. I don't know how we came across this particular program, but as far as data collection, retention, who has access, who are they selling it to? We don't know who they're selling it to. Anyways, it's a pretty generic copy-paste privacy rights for the students, and the parents have absolutely no access, unless I guess the school can give them access. Yeah, there were quite a few things about the AI program, and it's pretty old. I mean, without getting into it, it looked pretty rudimentary and outdated, but whatever. It's not good. It's not safe. It's not safe for the kids' data. I don't know what the advantage of it is, but I would just bring it up.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Hearing that, the motion fails. I would like to move to approve the supplemental library books that were offered for approval, and the in-depth Panhandle curriculum, the not on tobacco curriculum, these two things. I am specifically excluding the online curriculums.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
3 in favor, 1 opposed, motion carries.
Can I just add one more thing?
Sure.
Anita, would you mind just coming up and talking about your book that I'm bringing to supplemental curriculum?
Oh.
Next time, just so I can give them a heads up. So we have an author it's a pro police officer book.
Yeah.
There is not a digital copy. I do have it in my possession, so we're going to bring it to...
And I'm going to ask if I can scan it and then send it to you so you can look at it. So I'm a volunteer with a nonprofit in town called Bold for Blue Idaho, and it is an organization that kind of develops a relationship between first responders and law enforcement and the community. And we have a local author, and if I'm not mistaken, her husband is a deputy, and he might have worked at guard.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
He's
okay.
He lives right here.
Oh,
yes. So it's a K through 2 library
and
book.
so it's just a book that introduced. So it's called Deputy Squash, and it's Squatch because, and it's just a book that just kind of introduces this deputy Squatch. He looks like a Sasquatch, and it just kind of tells them. It's something to be read to kids from K to 2, and it just says, this is who I am, this is what law enforcement is, this is what we do. These are some of the things we do in the community for kids. These are the things that we carry on our uniform. You're welcome to talk to us about them. And so it's just kind of an interaction between, so it would be a uniformed deputy or officer that would come on campus to read these books. And it's for K2. And so we're just asking if there was, we would just like to have it looked at to see if the board would approve that. And then I could approach the principals and see if anybody's interested in it.
I read it, it's great.
Book is great.
But I do not have a digital copy, so if we get one, great, but I just wanted to preface that, so we would have one available here, but again, I don't feel like I can copy it.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anita.
I think we're always open to anything like that. I know we have quite a few authors in our community that write specifically for children.
It's great.
Yes, her Sasquatch does look a little bit like her husband.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, moving on to the LMS Bleacher quote. Do we have any conversations or questions we'd like to talk about on that quote? Or on the request that was provided to us? It appears that the recommendation is to approve Vibe Tech Specialties for $98,758.75 for bleachers for Lakeland Middle School, and that it is a co-op purchase.
Wasn't this a project we had anticipated? Did we set money aside for this?
Yes, there's $105,000 set aside for it, Trustee Grissom. So this will come in under budget. It's just because it's a contract, I needed to bring it to you for your approval. The reason I had the co-op on there is because all of the bidding requirements, even though this doesn't have to go to a full bid, that's met through the co-op. So.
Okay, great.
And I did get a second bid through.
A third.
Third.
Yeah.
Through the vendor on the co-op side as well, and they came in at $150,650.
So this would replace the existing bleachers all the way around that horseshoe, all the way around, with manual pull-out plastic bleachers. They look pretty
similar
nice.
To the high
similar
school.
to the high school, but
not
motorized.
And not motorized. And we're going to save some money on it, as we're going to do the demolition ourselves. They want another $8,000 for the demo. It's like we can.
And this does include a payment performance bond. The price.
When you say similar to the high school, because we already have some from the high school in there, right?
No, it's all the wooden, lovely bleachers that I feel like are a giant
Where's
liability every time someone sits on them.
Those are in storage because we couldn't do the bleachers last summer because we couldn't get on a schedule, and so we did the painting, and then this summer we're doing the floor, and so we didn't want to put the bleachers in before we did the floor.
Right.
So we're doing the
My
floor.
question is,
Are we going to be able to use those bleachers?
No, we're not planning on using them.
What are we going to do with them?
With the board's permission, surplus them, but I'll bring that up the
Is
next
there
board
another
meeting.
school that can use them?
They face the wrong way, is what I've been told.
Oh, even for the elementary schools? Because I think apples are pretty bad too.
They open
in reverse.
Because they were up in the high school map room.
Oh, gotcha.
And they opened up a different way. So we did store them. But
We still have them in storage.
Yes, we still have them, but we couldn't even use them in Mountain View because of the way they open.
And we're positive they won't work in any of the other elementary schools that need them.
Just because of the way they open.
What's the warranty on these ones?
They sit up against a glass wall and they open out so you can look down over.
Okay.
There's nothing that's behind them.
It is a 5-year warranty on the bleachers.
Parts and not labor.
Probably not.
That's why we went with the manual. Less to break down.
Right. Move to approve the bid of $96,350, is that it?
It's a little bit more on the first page, just because of the payment.
$98,758.
Yeah, but the payment performance bond is really good.
Those are important.
Yes.
$98,758 and 75 cents.
Yes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving to PFL rebudget and projects. Facility levy. All right. The siding project change order for $107,000 that I believe you brought to us to set that money aside. Why do we no longer need it?
Never came through as a bill and it's not showing owed, so
Okay.
All we owe right now on that project is $89,000.
And that's for Emmerich.
And that's for Emmerich. It'll go to the bond company.
Right.
We will not pay Emmerich directly.
Okay.
Not gonna run them over there for
Nope.
them?
Based on the number of lawsuits with that one.
I thought we had already paid that $89,000.
We're waiting for the bond company. There were so many claims for bonds related to this company. Zurich had to hire a third-party adjuster to handle the influx of claims for unpaid vendors related to this construction company.
Wow.
So we're waiting for them to do their process so that we can write them a check so that they can pay out all the subcontractors.
I'm curious on the fencing at LMS and LHS to comply with the 6-foot parameter.
Perimeter, yeah.
I thought we'd just done that.
So unfortunately, some of it, with the fencing money that we had received from the state, it covered everything that was done. When you did a walkthrough on the Lakeland Middle School fence, it's actually only 4.5 feet tall on the roadside, so that's the side that we need to fix. And then at the Lakeland High School, that fencing was which one?
So Lakeland High School, the fencing that runs along the highway that just got damaged, needs a top post because it's kind of saggy, and it looks very distracting, or distracts from the look of the school.
It's not aesthetic.
Thank you, aesthetics. Aesthetics.
So it's a combination of things.
So it's down through here, across the middle school, fix the middle school at the bus entrance, the other side of the road, which is the high school, fixing that tension rod that goes across, and then a couple repairs along the way.
So why did we not know that the middle school fencing, I mean, because it should have qualified for that program.
So the program was a flat $220, which we received the full amount. We ended up paying, we ended up using all that and a little bit of plant facility levy funds to do what we did.
Okay.
I just believe they counted the, as I like to call it, prison yard barbed wire post as meeting the 6-foot requirement, and it does not.
Okay.
So we'll get rid of those lovely additions along that fence line so that it looks
like a school,
better.
not a prison yard.
And that fence does need to be replaced.
It does.
Yeah.
It's old.
Yeah.
So you want to buy another vehicle?
Yes. So what that is, I know we're going to have a meeting with the board and go over some of the 18 million and things like that. I also want to bring up, show the vehicles that we have currently. We have 2 parked out back that are heavy duty but don't run. One of them does run, but it's got so many holes in the floorboard that emits exhaust into the cab, so it's not a safe vehicle to drive at this time. So we need a 1-ton flatbed, basically, to be able to haul some of the heavier equipment that we have. We can't get equipment up Timberlake, we're renting up there. But the other part of that was going back to some of the de-icing, because I can put a hopper on the back of that and be able to hit some of these local schools. So essentially saving money from our plowing contracts and being able to provide facilities with the vehicle that's going to be able to haul the equipment as we need.
That's the cost of a used,
A used.
along with the sprayer equipment that the request is for.
And that's an estimate based on just a lot of the 1-ton pickups that I've looked at were, 40, 50,000 miles, right in that range, that still have a lot of life left in them that's not going to cost $50,000-$60,000 off a lot.
Our facilities director has done a great job of compiling our fleet, where we're at with our fleet. As the board may know, a lot of our vehicles within our facilities fleet are aging, and it's not something unless we have plant facility money or we've set aside money that we have money to purchase anything for. So that's where this request is coming from, to kind of help limp along the productivity over there and help save us some money on rentals and things like that, and with the de-icing. So that's where this request is coming from.
Yeah. So the money that we got from the state, the 18 million or whatever, none of this can be covered in that? Okay.
No.
So then do we have the personnel with the knowledge and the capability to do this that needs to be done?
Yes.
Okay, so when you bring this, you say we're gonna have a conversation. When you bring this, can you bring us, like, what did you look at? What does it look like? What is the savings? Here's what we're spending, here's what we'll save. All that, so we really get an idea of what we're...
Yeah, I would definitely hear you. Part of this was just asking for the permission to reallocate so that we could do the legwork to get the quotes, so that we can get permission when we bring you the quotes to make the purchase, essentially. That's over the threshold. All of these projects will be over the threshold that will require board approval for the purchase. So we're just wanting to make sure that the line item is designated in the budget to do the work. It's not worth our time, unfortunately, to do the legwork if it's not going to be something that we're pre-approved for.
Which makes it really tough with vehicles, because they can get the right vehicle that we want, but then it may not be there when we go to buy it.
Talk to us about why we're replacing a boiler system in our newest school.
So Timberlake, or
Twin
Lakes, I do this every time. Twin Lakes Elementary. So Twin Lakes Elementary has a 5 boiler array that services the entire school. One's already down, the second one is limping along right now. These boilers, where's Ken? Oh, there he is. He can probably talk to this better, but correct me if I'm wrong. And Shane's here as well. So these systems that were installed were out of date when they were installed to begin with. They were antiquated, they were past they weren't the newest models. So I'm guessing whoever did the install in the contract found a cheaper model and just stuck it in, because it does not keep up with what it's supposed to be doing. On top of that, they're rated for residential. So we're burning through them very quickly. Each one of these 5 arrays, each one of those boilers is $15,000 to replace. So the entire array itself would be $75,000 as we're replacing. We could just replace the one now, and it might get us along for another couple of years. That's always an option. Or we can replace it with a system that's actually meant to be in the building for $65,000. A one-time cost now. It's going to save us over time. It's going to give us that longer warranty. It's going to give us that longer life. What are they rated for? Like 20 years?
20 years for
20 years for a new one.
Ken Harvest.
Oh, sorry.
Ken Harvest, HVAC leaks, for maintenance. Can I speak one more note? Please. On the boilers that are existing are aluminum heat exchangers. And when they were installed, they were not compatible with the glycol that they installed.
Yes.
That ate some of our heat exchangers, and we have replaced some of them in the past, but they're no longer available. Circuit boards aren't available.
My issue with all of this is, to me, it's a reflection on the architects. Because had they been doing their job properly, we'd have had inspections to not allow that kind of equipment to be installed.
It happens to some of the best companies, but I agree. I think that the lead, whoever the journeyman who was on the job, could have caught it, but it gets lost. And those are some really unique situations where the glycols don't match the aluminum. Since then, I've replaced the glycol. We're trying to limp those along as long as we can.
I hear what you're saying, but my point is, if we had equipment that's installed in a brand new building, it's the job of the engineering team that's part of the architectural team to make sure that whatever is installed is exactly what they specified. Now, if they specified something that's not appropriate, it still falls back on them. If they didn't catch the fact that something was installed that wasn't supposed to be, it falls back on them. So I have a real concern about our work with Architects West in that regard.
So do you think it's these were rated for residential when they were installed, or do you think that just as time went along, they've now become residential rated? No.
No,
Okay.
they knew what they were putting in.
Okay.
I've seen this in a couple other buildings as well, and it's,
Oh, really? Okay.
it's cost savings. You find something that is cheaper for you to
Right.
purchase, to install. It works at the time, and then you get a year or two down the road and you start having issues. And the
Yeah.
glycol took time to eat through before anyone even noticed
Right.
that it was
Yeah.
not compatible.
You said that you've noticed it in other buildings of ours?
Not
or?
ours,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
just in my experience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So we would be taking the 215 or the 107?
So our recommendation is to put 215 back into the line item for carpet continuation that we initially took it from for Apple, Garwood, Lakeland High School, and Spirit Lake. We're not 100% sure. We may not need to do anything at Lakeland High School, but the money would be sufficient to complete the projects at Apple, Garwood, and Spirit Lake. So putting 215,000 back into that original $220,000 line item. And then using the 107 plus some of the building and emergency repair funds that we have to be able to complete the other projects that were requested. So that's your boilers at TLE, the fencing at Lakeland High School, Lakeland Middle School, purchasing some custodial equipment, so carpet extractors and cleaning equipment, and then that fleet vehicle so that we were able to haul our own equipment and do de-icing within the local radius.
So why don't we need the carpet projects continuing at Apple, Garwood, the high school, and Spirit Lake? Why don't we need?
I'm asking to put money back into that line item.
Oh, to put it back
Yes.
for the carpet, to
Yes.
do the carpet?
Yes.
And take it from the siding projects?
The siding,
because-
it's from unused line items. So the carpet abatement ended up costing us less. We had quite a bit budgeted for that. It's going to be, what, 45,000? I think, Tim?
Correct, for the middle
So
school.
we had budgeted, I think, 210. We had budgeted 210 for the carpet abatement at Lakeland Middle School. We're only going to need to use about 45 of that. So that allows us to put money back into the carpet continuation in addition to the siding project change order and the tennis court project that we're not moving forward on because the quote from the company was not sufficient for what needs to be done there. So that we're basically asking to put money back into the original line item and then a permission to move forward with these other projects. And the tile at Garwood, Betty Keeper, we can use, as long as it meets IRS standards, we can use the 18 million to do that project. So the other line item that's crossed out there, we're able to use. We were notified when we were at a training at the beginning of this month when I missed the last board meeting that the $18 million, because it is bond proceeds, is subject to IRS audit to ensure we're using the funds appropriately. So I'm researching to make sure that what our understanding of useful life matches the IRS standard of useful life for a commercial. So.
So don't they have a list they can give
They
us?
do,
Okay.
yep. But we tend to be a little bit more lengthy in our deferred maintenance than the IRS will allow. So we're working on making sure when we come to the workshop that we have all of that information available.
And of course, that list is going to be 8,000 pages
I know.
long, so it's going to be hard to find exactly what you
Yeah.
need and where it is. in
We've
that list.
outlined, based on what we had submitted to the state, we've outlined some projects that we think will fully use that 18 million. That should be the top priority, so that's going to be our recommendation at that. Obviously, it's at the board's discretion, but we're trying to bring fully baked projects to you to kind of pick and choose from based on what we know needs to be done as a priority in the buildings.
I'm trying to follow your math, and I think I've lost $10,000. So if the abatement project, wait a minute, these numbers are just, okay. What I'm trying to understand is, number one, why we wouldn't be putting you want to put 215,000 back for what we allocated 220,000.
Mm-hmm.
We do not want to put back the 40,000 that we allocated for the VCT tile for Garwood and Betty Kiefer.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because we're able to accomplish that with the 18 million.
Wouldn't we be able to accomplish that with the carpet as well?
We would, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's just
All right.
looking for, we're trying to get quotes so we can get a lot of this work done this summer. So that's why not having the school modernization workshop done yet. We're trying to get our ducks in a row so that we're efficiently getting projects completed this summer while students are out of the building.
Right, and I understand that, but with the plant facility dollars, those have to go to plant facilities, correct?
Building maintenance, yes.
Okay.
Or fleet vehicles.
Or equipment.
It's equipment, fleet vehicles, or deferred maintenance.
Okay.
And that's where some of this request cannot be the items that we had listed above. There's a portion of it that cannot be used for the 18 million.
What ones can't be used for the 18
The
million?
fencing and the fleet vehicle. We have to take care of our buildings first before we can do like parking lots and fencing and sidewalks.
The actual building before you can.
We can do siding, windows, and doors. I just can't do parking lots and stuff because we have so much work that needs to be done on interiors to get the buildings to good or perfect as the state standard requires. So the
Undefined standard.
yeah, they feel it's very defined.
Pretty subjective.
So how did we miss the fence when we did the other fencing?
I believe what happened, I wasn't on the walkthrough on that. It was done, gosh, last fall-ish. The work was done last spring. What happened, the fencing on the Lakeland Middle School has those like barbed wire.
Right.
I believe they counted that in to the height of the fence. There's no barbed wire in it, so it doesn't technically meet the 6 foot. And I don't recommend putting barbed wire on it. So that's where that was missed.
Well, does it technically count? I mean, even if you put straight wire in, it doesn't count? Instead of
I really
string-
would prefer our schools not to look like prisons. I mean, that's just
Well,
a
we got a lot
selfish
of
thing of
work to
mine.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because I see a lot of things happening right here, and I'm worried about everything up north and some of the other stuff that we had talked about, like with, I think it was Betty Kiefer that, was it Betty Kiefer or John Brown that we kept waiting for, was it floor siding or one of those things?
So
I
John
can't
Brown is
remember.
siding, which
John
is a
Brown.
project that we're going to bring to it with the school modernization funds. That's something that if we can get approval for that, we feel confident that we would be able to get a bid out and get going on that if we can do it quickly. We've got a lot of the stuff ready to go just because we've done 3 buildings now, so it would be very easy for us to work to get that done. There's a lot of projects in play with that 18 million that will address our northern schools as well. It was just to comply with the fencing. We're compliant everywhere else. That's why the request was for that specific portion of the fencing.
So we have a 6-foot fence around the football field here, right?
No.
Not all the way around.
So this section that runs along Washington is 6 foot, but the one that runs along 41 is not.
Is not?
It is not. I can actually see over it. I'm so excited.
It used to have like posts that came up and then there was barbed wire.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and so when that isn't there, we're not supposed to count that. So the actual fence is like 4.5 feet.
We went and measured it, I promise. We
Take
did.
a picture next time.
Okay. I'll go stand next to it so you can see that it's not 6 feet.
Or I can stand.
You can
There you
stand,
go.
yes.
It might be a little more obvious.
Yeah.
I
we understand?
move to approve the recommendations from the CFO on the transfer of funds.
Second.
Let the motion indicate the dollar amounts that are being transferred.
We have a motion and a second.
I don't quite understand the motion, so it's to do what the recommendation is, 50,000 for the fence, 65,000 for the boiler at TLE, 50,000 for the custodial equipment, and 75,000 for fleet vehicle, or just to transfer the? So does the motion include?
All inclusive.
All include, okay.
And then the 215 for the moving that back
Yeah,
into the line
yeah,
item
yeah.
for the carpet continuation.
Okay, gotcha.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Motion failed.
I think my thing is I want to really be, make sure that all of these things get done. And the reason I'm, because we've so many times in the past when we've said, okay, we're gonna go do this or go do that, and then we turn around, it doesn't get done, and then the money's been put here or there or wherever.
So, Trustee Gerson, I hear you on that. Since I've been in this role and with Tim over facilities, the projects are getting completed quickly and on time.
Mhm.
So I have no doubt. We had a lot of conversations on, is this doable this summer? I've been tracking these line items specifically for 2 years based on board approval, and so it comes to every month so you can see exactly where the progress is with it. So I hear your concern, and we're doing everything to mitigate that and complete the work. So I do have full faith that this will get done in an appropriate amount of time.
I actually have, don't lose my voice. I actually have scheduled at least 3, if not more, flooring companies to be able to walk through the schools during spring break, so they can get us appropriate bids as well.
Well, I personally would like the monies to go back to what we had initially allocated, the 220 for Athol, Garwood, Lakeland High School, and Spirit Lake, and the 40,000 for VCT Tile with Garwood and Betty Kiefer. I don't see any problem with putting the monies back there. That then leaves you with a balance of $62,000, which would not accomplish all of the 4 projects listed up the top. But that being said, I would think that putting the money back where we initially had it, then we're going to do another facilities workshop to address the 18 million upon projects. At that time, I think it would behoove us to reflect on where we have money allocated that is apparently not encumbered, and do we need to modify what we had previously done in that workshop. I think it's just challenging because it has happened a lot in the past. I'm not saying with you, I'm not saying with Tim, I'm saying from experience where
concrete was this group.
This is true.
Yeah.
My concrete, we're still waiting on.
It's going to bid on April
But
7th.
the frustration is we say, let's go in this direction, we go in this direction, and then something says, no, we have to go in that direction. And then, oh no, we're not going in that, we're going over here. So I think it would behoove us to put the money back where it came from, and we can schedule that facilities workshop post haste and discuss it all at that time.
And that would still be enough to do the fencing at least. The 62,000 would cover.
We're
There's
talking
actually-
about 2 separate
There's actually
groups of money.
quite a bit of money there if you look at the emergency repair funds and the building funds, which is what we were getting to with, if you take the 107 plus.
So there was 62,000 left from what Chair Thompson just said, and you have on this that you gave us the projected amount of 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so, I apologize if I didn't put this out there clearly. Within the line items below, we have money left in the emergency repair funds. There's 2 line items for that. There's about 118,000 there. And in the building budgets, there's money left in the building budgets as well that we could utilize toward these purchases. We're just asking to change those line items to reflect the line items that we're requesting above. So when you take all of it into account, yes, we 1,000% could put the 220 back and the 45 back. I would request that we do approve the boiler system so we can get moving on that, because that is an issue that we're having that is emergent. The rest of it can wait, absolutely, and we can start working on the quotes for the carpet and stuff like that. It's just, we were bringing you our recommendation related to the plant facility levy funds based on their current line item budgets that we have been adhering to based on board permission.
So wouldn't the boiler be covered in the 18 million? That wouldn't be covered in the 18 million?
It could, but it's not a priority based on what we submitted to the state. Really, it's the fire suppression systems, the electrical systems, siding,
And HVAC.
And HVAC. It is HVAC, and yes, we could do it in there. So yes, absolutely, we could.
Okay.
Yeah, some of the other items that they have up on the top, we can't use the 18 million. I think that's what
Right,
they're
no,
just
I
trying to make
understand
sure.
that, but going back to what Chair Thompson was saying, we could do that. It would just be, at least get the fencing done with that, and then just when we have our other meeting to go over all of these things and take into account the boiler and all of these other things, and look at the vehicles too, since you're going to bring that to us. I mean, it might be more than one that we need to purchase, maybe.
But we
there's just a lot of
we
things.
can't use the 18 million.
I get that.
Yeah.
I understand
So
that.
I would amend my recommendation for, I think, my next line, actually two items, two budget, or the J5, we could make it a plant facility levy and school modernization funds workshop, and review it at that point in time, at the board's discretion.
So move your next two that were on here to those
No,
workshops?
I'm just saying we can
Oh,
combine
oh.
that to the workshop, so if,
Gotcha.
if the board
Okay.
wants to consider it in whole, the remainder of this budget plus the 18 million, we can do that in one workshop if that's the board's discretion. We are just trying to get moving on some projects for the summer.
So in so we've not had any emergency repairs for this school year?
We didn't hardly touch the emergency repairs fund from last fiscal year, so the FY24 line item. The majority of that was used this year. So we had set 100,000 aside in
Right.
FY24, 100,000 aside for FY25. We were using up the FY24 line item, so there's 17,000 left there. So that leaves us 100,000 that we didn't have to touch this year.
Right.
So that's where some of the salvage is coming from. Same with the building budgets. We haven't had to make some of those purchases. Part of that is because we were able to we've been very efficient, I would say, and really looking at what we had in storage, looking at what we could do in-house to save some money, that kind of stuff. We've definitely done things, the rooftop units. You can see the whole list.
Respectfully, if we put the money back where it was supposed to be in the first place, that we moved to accomplish something that we found out is going to cost us left. Based on my calculations of going back into those emergency funds, etc., it appears that you would be $55,874 short in accomplishing everything by putting the money back, and then you would be $55,000 short on your estimated projects. So for me, that would mean either the custodial equipment would need to wait, or the fencing, which I don't think the fencing should wait, but it would get you the other items, unless you wanted to maybe, you could do the boiler and maybe the fleet vehicle waits, or you could, that would give you room to figure out from your 4 line items what you might be willing to hold off on until we can all sit down with all of the projects that need to come for us to reprioritize, but we're putting money back where it came from. That's my thing. I would like to see it go back to where it came from.
Okay.
So does that make sense, what I'm saying? Did the math equal up, or am I off? Because that's always a possibility. I wasn't clear on the pulling of emergency funds, adding into all these other numbers, so that's what kind of threw me off in the first place.
By my calculations, we would be left, if we put all the line items back exactly as they were and then did the 4 purchases above, we would have 45,000 left in the plant facility funds that would either be left in building budgets or emergency repairs. I'm looking specifically at line item FY24 building budgets. The remaining funds there is $5,182. FY24 emergency repair funds, the remaining balance is $17,874. If you look at the emergency repairs and building budgets for FY25, there's $200,000 there,
Okay.
and then the 107 for the siding change orders.
So we can do it all.
Alright.
Yeah,
So-
we could do it all and have money left over.
Okay, then I would make a motion to reallocate back into fiscal year 25 the Athol Elementary, Garwood Elementary, LHS, SLE continuation of $220,000 to put that money back. To put back the $40,000 to the VCT tile, Garwood Elementary, BKE, and cafeteria. And then through the utilization of the remaining emergency repair funds for fiscal year 24 and the emergency repair funds for fiscal year 25, utilizing those to accomplish whatever projects the district feels that it can accomplish that's listed on their list.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Do we need any further discussion?
I just have one question. If we utilize, if I'm understanding your motion, I'm not sure I do, but if we utilize emergency repair funds for FY25, and we only have 17,000 remaining for FY24, then that gives us $17,000 to finish out this year in terms of emergencies.
So with
No.
the emergency funds and the building budgets, there would be $45,000 left.
Based on my motion, Bob, no, because their recommendation is to utilize all of those monies. That was, when you made your motion, it was to accept their recommendation. Their recommendation was to utilize the fiscal year 24 emergency funds and the fiscal year 25 emergency funds. And my math calculation didn't include that. But in essence, I am agreeing with that. They want to utilize the funds to accomplish their 4 projects up here. What I hear CFO Grantham stating is she will also need to pull from the building budgets, which I'm not including that in my motion. I am simply including the emergency repair funds in my motion.
All of the emergency repair funds?
That's what the district has asked for, so if that's how they want to utilize the money to accomplish these missions, they can. But I base this motion on the fact that I know we're going to be coming to the table here right quick, and if we need to revamp fiscal year 25's allocations, we can at that time.
Okay.
Okay? I'm not saying we will, but we can look at everything to see if we need to. So we have a motion and a second?
Yes.
I forgot where we were. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on to the bus bid. So we
Chair
have some-
Thompson, I have two fun things for you in this one.
Oh, lucky. Let me.
So we did go out to bid for gas buses. One of the vendors no longer manufactures gas buses, so they provided a diesel bid, so we requested diesel bids as well. Those are the top bids you see here. The recommendation is to go with Harlow's, as they're able to deliver 4 diesel buses pretty quickly based on their production schedule to the district. This is a change. We currently do not have, well, we have a couple diesel.
We have diesels,
Yep.
we just haven't been purchasing them.
Yep.
Sorry, transportation director, just kidding.
So, and the repair facility for that is fairly close. We use RWC quite a bit out of Spokane. The other part of this is the conversation around activity buses. We've been doing a lot of legwork to see what we could find because we do have money still in the board approved projects for the purchase of those activity buses since, who was it?
Harlow's.
Harlow's canceled the order. So Harlow's now currently has 2 of them on their lot that we could purchase. There's a company, Northwest Bus Sales, that also has 2 that are cheaper, or they actually have 3 on their lot, and then Jess did get a quote for a used one that I did not have the information to bring to the board. She received it today, so I did not have it to put into the packet. So I have kind of 2 separate requests here. One is the approval to purchase 4 diesel buses from Harlow's using the bus depreciation fund, which there are plenty of funds in there. They will be able to deliver them this calendar year, which is fantastic for our fleet. And then the second would be to request approval of 2 activity buses so that we're able to transport our athletics and co-curriculars using our own vehicles and not having to rely on the big yellow buses or the charters.
Wasn't it Harlow's that increased the price on us and wouldn't allow us to?
Harlow's did provide a bid bond this time, so.
And it was Bryson that increased the price on yellow bus.
Yep. So the last time we went out to a bus bid, I would like to remind the board that nobody would provide a bid bond, and we only had 1 vendor respond. I do feel that now that they're able to manufacture better, they're all of the companies responded with a bid bond, and they're all able to, and we had more people respond this time. Last time we literally had 1 company respond to our request for proposals for buses. So it's great to see more competition, I guess, in that arena.
So they're not the people that, well, we had sort of 2 incidences. One, they raised the cost on us, and then another one kept saying they were gonna deliver, and then there was it. But that was, so who was that?
So Harlow's, and that was for activity buses, not school buses. So it was kind of a separate thing. Those are a little, I wouldn't say a niche vehicle, but they're not a vehicle that is.
Right. Well, they kept telling us they were going to deliver, and they never came.
And then they never came through. But lo and behold, they have some on their lot.
Yeah. Imagine that.
And the reason that they couldn't deliver on that contract is because the manufacturer that they were contracted with went out of business, is what they told us. So.
Do we know if there is, what there would be in savings in going to diesels as opposed to having gasoline?
You mean like mileage wise or maintenance cost?
Yeah, I don't know that mileage wise we would save anything, but fuel expense, maintenance, etc. Is there?
It's pretty similar. Our mechanics like the gasoline buses better because they don't have all the sensors on them. The sensors are pretty expensive to replace. However, with looking at how far out the gasoline buses would get delivered, their recommendation is to go with diesels for this one time.
Yeah, because they pleaded with us not to order any more diesels because the cost was prohibitive, the additive was prohibitive. They were constantly breaking down. Even when they replaced the sensors, half of the sensors didn't. I mean, there was a lot of issue. That's why they asked us not to. So I'm sort of surprised that now they want us to go back.
Right.
And the cost of diesel, which I guess it's right about the same as gasoline.
And part of that recommendation is Bryson no longer has a local service bay. we would have to take the buses to Pullman, which puts them out of fleet for quite a bit of time versus Western Mountain, which would be in Hayden, or Harlow's, which is out of Spokane. So that was part of our consideration. Not looking, I have it down there in the notes of why we are recommending not taking the lowest bid on this is because we were looking at multiple factors.
Right.
One, the delivery timeline, to where the service center is for warranty work, and then the cost is pretty comparable, really, when you look at it. It's not super far off for any of these vendors, specific to the school buses.
And where would we take this money from?
For the school buses themselves, from the bus depreciation fund, so that is Fund 424. Currently, there's 400. Once we make there's more. I need to fix that number. Once we make the transfer, we'll have plenty of money to purchase the.
Okay, yeah. So you say 421.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, 498,000. And that's the activity buses.
Yeah. So it's only going to be 488,533 for nope, that's the word. I need a math.
So I guess it's the money's there.
The money is absolutely
we already
there.
set it aside for this purpose.
It's specific to those purposes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's why I still am concerned about the diesel thing because it was costing a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the sensors we were having issues with, even the sensors that were being replaced were bad.
Yeah,
I mean, the
and
manufacturing with the additive and all, I mean, it was sort of a nightmare.
We're actually starting to see a lot of issues with the gasoline buses too. Post Falls, they've recently got some Bluebird buses and they had some major issues with them, and some of their new buses were down for a couple months while they were waiting to get into the warranty center to get fixed. So another reason why, lesser of the two evils for right now.
Right. Well, if that's what they think, I'm just curious of what the cost is going to be.
For the 4 buses, it's $588,501.36. We have more than enough money in the bus depreciation fund to purchase all 4 of them. Plus, that will help our reimbursement down the road for transportation because we'll have buses on the depreciation schedule.
So then how many buses would that give us in our fleet? Are we replacing, or are we just adding 2, or what are we?
So we have currently 3 buses with blown motors that need about $30,000 worth of work. So I think our current fleet is sitting right at like 45 buses, I believe. So, but with the ones that are
with the blown motors or without?
With them.
Okay, so 41, and this would put us up to 45.
I believe, I don't have the exact numbers, but.
So that's the first part of this request.
So I'm just trying to follow your language for funding of these. You say the amount due to be paid to close out window siding door projects is roughly $89,000. What does that mean? It says
that's on the activity buses.
Correct.
So for Fund 421, the current ending balance of that is a little short of $500,000. We have $89,000 that we have to pay out on the bond to pay the subcontractors for Emmerich, because that's part of that fund. So currently in that fund, the projects that are authorized were the window siding and doors for Lakeland Middle School, Athol, Spirit Lake, and then these activity buses. Those are the 4 approved projects out of that fund currently. So there's $500,000 roughly in there. If you take out the $89,000 and you take out the purchase of these 2 activity buses, there would still be about $200,000 left in that fund for board discretion.
And our athletic directors would really, really appreciate these buses because they would not have a cost for driving these buses with the coaches driving them because it's non-CDL. So then,
and they're compliant with ICRIMP. So that's always a fantastic thing. So we're able to take our kids in the smaller ones for our smaller groups and not have to take a big yellow bus with us.
So the 4 that you're recommending, which vendor?
The vendor would be Harlow's for that. They would be able to deliver one in April or May of this year, and the rest would be in October.
Okay.
And they're
What's the body manufacturer?
let me scroll down. I can tell you.
Not Bluebird?
No,
No,
it's
not
not
Bluebird. It's the
Thomas?
International.
International. Mhm.
Sorry, I'm not a mechanic. Yep, International. Western Mountain is Thomas.
Yeah. So Bryson is Bluebird, Western Mountain is Thomas, and Harlow's is International.
Yes.
Okay. So Harlow's, diesel engine,
Mm-hmm.
international body.
Mm-hmm.
How many buses do we have that have international body?
We have quite a few.
A lot.
Most of our diesels are them. Yeah.
So they don't rattle apart, they hold together?
Mm-mm, no, they're actually my favorite buses.
All right, very good.
The activity buses are kind of a separate request, just hearing from our activity directors and just that it was a failed purchase in the past, so we were bringing forward some solutions on that. Now that, again, they seem to be more readily available. Like I said, Harlow's has 2 on their lot that's available. Northwest Bus Sales, which a lot of districts in the state use, they have 3 available that we could go pick up tomorrow if we wanted to. And they're quite a bit cheaper, about $12,000 cheaper than Harlow's on that purchase for those. And then the quote that we got today was just for one used bus,
Used one, yeah.
but it was used, a 2017.
Yes. It had just under 10,000 miles on it.
Wow, that's very good.
And how much was the claim for that?
I'd have to look at my email.
Let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
What year was it?
2017.
So they have a 2019 and a 2020 diesel, both of them. One, the 2020 has 30,000 and a Cummins, and the 2019 has 46,000, also a Cummins diesel. The 2020 is a 47 passenger, the 2019 is a 72. And they're both, one's 68.5 and the other one is 69.5.
So we could go with all used. We didn't bring that information forward. We just happened to get the used quote today.
Are those yellow buses?
Yeah, so yes, they're the
Okay.
buses, yep. So I found the 2017 Bluebird, 29.5.
Yeah, it's only a 14 passenger one. It's
Yeah,
the low
okay, that's not this one.
We wouldn't be able to do the Ford because it's not the MFSAB.
Mhm.
We are required by ICRIMP and currently with Idaho statute to have MFSAB designation for activity buses. So
Which is what?
Yeah. Well, I knew you were going to ask me
There
that.
we go with acronyms.
Because you know I hate acronyms,
I know.
so that's why
I don't
you
like
do.
it either. I kept asking Jessica today. I'm like, am I saying that right? It's the multifunction school activity bus. So there's a
Okay.
specific designation. It's a safety thing. The insurance will cover it because it has that designation. So one of the ones that's on Bryson's, Harlow's Bryson's site, it does not have that designation, so we're not able to purchase that at this time. So so multifunction school activity bus.
Thank you for
You're
that.
very welcome.
I appreciate it.
So the 2 activity buses that you're recommending are?
The designation of MFSAB, and they're brand new, and they're $112,000 from Northwest Bus
Northwest
Sales.
Bus.
Each, yes. So we would still have about $200,000 left in the board approved projects fund after that purchase.
Okay.
And you're saying purchase 2 of them?
Yes, please. Unless you want to buy the used one too, and then we can have 3.
Well, we were originally talking about doing 4 of them,
Right.
2 for each high school.
Correct.
So maybe
The price has gone up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think getting 2 of them is it's finally something that
And
we
it's a
can
quick win. I
finally
can go
do.
get them tomorrow if you want me to. I'll be happy to
I'll go
Uber
with you.
you.
I'll go with you. That'll be fun.
Yeah, we
I'll
just,
drive one back.
You can even legally drive it.
Yeah. Because you don't need a CDL.
we just had,
That's why I volunteered.
we just had a situation where we had Lakeland and Timberlake were going to share a bus and they were going, was it golf? Can't remember what the tournament
Today?
was. No, the one that it broke down last minute and they were scrambling to find a way to get kids to the tournament and they were looking at like a 12-passenger van, which ICRN was told us they will not cover. And so I had to ask them to find minivans that they could transport the kids in. And so to have these activity buses will be super helpful.
The charter bus book done, not our bus.
Right, no, it's
Yeah,
a charter,
yeah.
yeah.
Just
At the
clarifying
last,
it was not our bus.
at the last minute, and the transportation department
Scrambled.
were scrambling, so yeah.
I would move to approve the 4 buses from Harlow's and the 2 activity buses from Northwest Bus Sales.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any
Just include
opposed?
the dollar amount in the motion.
Oh, yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so
Our
much for the
activity
work.
directors appreciate you.
They're gonna really appreciate you, Chris.
Now we just need to
one
have-
for up north and one for down here.
Yeah.
Why don't they let us use those funds to buy the multifunction? I mean, it's still.
So the transportation reimbursement does not allow us to claim the mileage for multiple. Is that Dave?
It might be.
It might be.
It might
You want Tim to
be. Got a clock.
I'm gonna go to the front door.
Hi,
The door's
Dave.
locked. Oh, the front door's locked.
You just scared us.
My thing won't work.
Multifunction school activity buses are not part of, we can't bill it to transportation. So if they will fully live within the interscholastic activities budget, all of the repairs, maintenance, the drivers for that will all live within the school activities budget. Not at the school level, but at our level. We can't charge them to transportation. We will receive no additional reimbursement from them.
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Okay.
I'm just staying up here all night, you guys.
She actually asked if she could just sit next to me.
The facilities work session request.
Back up.
School modernization fund. Okay, so this isn't necessarily an action item, we just need to select
Just a request to
date.
do it, to set a date. Okay.
I just need a date. Do you have your calendar?
I do.
Pick a date.
And this is one we'd like to move quickly on just so we can get projects done this
Like
summer if
this, like
possible.
tomorrow?
Sure, I'd love to. We've got policy council tomorrow, but maybe we could do it before.
Oh.
I don't think that's enough time to notice it though.
We're not canceling policy. There's too much to do.
For that next Wednesday.
We have town hall at Hazard Fire Department next Wednesday,
Yes.
5:30.
Would Tuesday the 24th work?
Monday or Tuesday?
I have to be at Big Kiefer on Tuesday night.
Football on Monday.
What do you guys think is top schedule? TV.
I can miss that though. I have other coaches out there.
It doesn't look like we have anything on Monday, Lisa.
No, I'll be traveling back from Boise on Monday, but I should be back in time for 6 o'clock.
What day are we talking?
Monday, March 24th.
Okay.
Not a done deal?
Monday the 24th at 6 p.m.
Okey dokey, artichoke.
At 6 o'clock.
You good with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for your time on that one.
Yeah.
Monday the 24th.
That's me.
And then we have the College and Career Advisors State funding. Respectfully, what I had asked at the meeting was to understand why, if we have a specific line item for college and career advisors, are we just putting that in the general fund? Can I finish? Okay, thanks. Why we are just using that as discretionary money, putting it in the fund, etc. It was Chelsea that said that, you know, she felt that what you meant was, and I don't like to go that route, so I just wanted to hear from you why, if we have a line item for college and career funding, are we utilizing that for something other than college and career funding?
We are not using it for anything but college and career funding. In the FY25 budget impact paragraph, we utilize the college and career advisor special distribution from the state to offset the cost of our 2 classified college and career advisors. This is 1 full-time position at each high school. The total salaries and benefits budgeted for those 2 positions for this fiscal year was $134,100. Our anticipated distribution from state funds, we've received 80% of those so far. It's $125,300. So we're fully utilizing that money towards those 2 positions. Plus, we're using some of our discretionary money from the state to cover the rest. The shortfall, because there is a shortfall. So yes, we are 100% absolutely using the college and career advisor distribution to pay for the college and career advisor positions. Where this came from as far as the discretionary comment, when we were talking about budget reductions in November, December, January, we could, based on the way state statute is written, utilize those funds to pay for guidance counselors. Our guidance counselors are not fully funded by the state. We actually have more than we technically need, so they could assume these duties.
Not more than we need.
Not more than the state. More than the state provides. I apologize. We need our guidance counselors. I don't want anybody to ever interpret that I said that but we could utilize it.
Okay, I just want to stop you right there. My struggle is when what was brought to us by the superintendent was to eliminate the college and career advisors, and I don't understand why we would be eliminating a position that we receive funding on. And then the motion got made that we would put the funding for the college and career on the backs of the 2 high schools. I don't agree with that, and I wanted some understanding as to how did we determine that we were going to take a line item for positions that we are funded for, and we're just going to say we don't need them anymore.
So Idaho Code 33-1212A, Part 2, states specifically that we can use the funding for either a non-certificated staff, which is what we currently do, or the alternative form of advising would be a 2 counselor, teacher, paraprofessional, and advisor, mentor. So that is our interpretation as far as we could make the cut for the 2 classified positions and use our certificated staff that are counselors and use this funding to help offset the cost of those positions, as those positions are not fully funded from the state. So that is where that recommendation came.
How is it that with all of the other counselors that we have within our district, we have 2 college and career advisors that we receive a line item funding for? We receive funding for all the other counselors.
So that's salary-based apportionment,
right?
And we don't receive the full cost of those positions.
Have we ever considered going back to those buildings and asking them to fund their counselors in some capacity? Because we felt it okay to go back to the high schools and say, fund these 2 counselors. Have we ever considered that?
That wasn't our motion or our recommendation.
Well, your recommendation was to cut the 2 college and career advising positions. I don't think they should be cut whatsoever, and we do receive funding for it, so I believe that funding should go for those positions.
It does.
That's not a current cut that was approved, so that's not part of
Right.
the $2 million.
What was
In my
approved
motion, I
was
added them back.
Right, correct.
to
Yeah.
on the backs of the high schools. The motion was that each high school figure out how to cut $85,000 from their budget to keep the college and career advisors
No, it was.
and the trash or
It
whatever. There was one other service that was thrown in there. Garbage services.
Because it was my understanding that the high schools wanted to make that decision on what positions that would be cut. It wasn't just slapping this on their backs. That's not at all what I did. That was not at all my intention.
Okay, which I respect that. I just it's very frustrating knowing that all of the reductions that we keep going, that the district keeps trying to provide appear to fall on the backs of the high schools. And when we are getting funding for college and career advisors, I think those positions should receive the funding that they're getting allocated for.
And I put them back in so I don't understand what the argument is. They were put back in my motion. So why do we keep revisiting this? And
because why is it that the high schools need to fund the college and career advisors when we receive them?
They don't. We have the money for it.
Okay. So how are we funding the college and career advisors?
We're using college and career funding from the state.
Okay, so then why are we reducing the high school budgets, asking them to cut another $85,000 out of their
That
budgets?
is at their discretion on how they choose to do that. We're not asking them to cut that position. That is up to them on how they would like to do that.
So they have to cut other positions to come up for that $85,000. Is that correct?
A little short of $85,000.
Or through attrition.
Or through attrition.
It doesn't have to be personnel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where did the $85,000 number come from?
It's actually 81. Basically, when you factored back in the cost of the garbage service, there was $161,529 left that was at the high school's principal's discretion. So that's $80,764.50 per building at their discretion on how they would like to cut that. And I would say in our recommendations, we are trying to be as equitable as you can be when you're cutting $2 million. Every single department in this district is feeling the impact of this. Our elementary schools are losing building lab techs and school clerical. I'm not trying to downplay what we're asking our high schools to do by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying that every single department in this district is being impacted by the $2 million in cuts.
Yeah, I think the
across the
problem
board.
I understand that.
a lot of them don't understand what actually we're legally obligated to have. Like, a lot of people have talked about music or some of the arts or whatever. Well, we have to supply that. That's not up for cutting. Just like the college and career advisors. There's no debate on whether they go or stay. They have to
So
stay.
Idaho code does allow us to use that money for certificated counselors, which is where the conversation came from in the cut. So if Idaho code 33-1212A part 2 section A part 2 specifically states that we can use it as a high contact program using a counselor, teacher, paraprofessional as advisor or mentor. So that was where the recommendation was coming from, because we do not receive full funding for those positions from the state. We could utilize the college and career advisor money because it's allowed by state statute to fund those positions.
But that issue is now moot.
It's a non-issue.
It's now moot because we've already remedied it.
Okay, so this was just a follow-up to a meeting I
Just
wasn't
try,
at.
yeah, just trying to
wasn't-
have some understanding, I think, is what the intent was.
So no action needs to be taken on that.
Thank you.
Moving on to the
Thank you.
facilities job descriptions.
Now, we're all under the understanding that we approve these job descriptions. It doesn't mean that you just get to go out and hire one of each of one of these.
So the goal
Right.
is
Wait,
to.
no, well, actually, we are planning on posting the positions because the job descriptions have changed, and so, to be fair, and because some of the positions that are currently held are not going to be a position anymore, we're getting rid of all the lead positions in the department. So we had that conversation that we would rewrite the job descriptions for the positions that we need in our facilities department, and then our current facilities staff can apply for whichever ones will fit their qualifications, and
But
then
this wouldn't be until next school year,
So we
correct?
would
it starts next school year.
So we
yes.
would start the
Okay,
process.
that's what I'm saying, is we're not just gonna go out and hire
No.
6 new positions this year and then,
No.
oh, we have
No.
an
No,
extra,
so
okay.
the point of this too, the restructure, is to allow us to handle the attrition that's part of the $2 million in budget cuts as well.
Who put the job descriptions together?
Our facilities director, Tim, HR, and myself did look them over just to make sure that they were grammatically correct and that they met the requirements that HR needed. But Tim did the lion's share of the work
And
on
then
this.
our HR department put them in the correct format for us.
Okay, and what's the very last item on each job description?
Other duties as assigned?
Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
we all wear that hat. So.
Yes. So just so you know, Trustee Bain, to your question about timeline, we will post these positions
In April.
Go through the process and the interview process and identify which of our people will hold which of these jobs.
So-
And these new titles will start on July 1st.
It'll be
That's
open to
what
the
I was gonna
public
ask,
as well.
July 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the positions will be open to the public as well. We do not currently have a licensed electrician on staff, so our hope is to be able to hire
And then
one.
we do have to have the loss of the, we have one person who's retiring, but then we also have another loss that we need to kind of work out. And so we wanted to do this early enough that they'll continue to work through June 30th. But if
Still
they
give them
don't have
time.
this job, then they have opportunity to go find a job.
Give us
We
time
also
to
have
test.
some head custodians who are resigning, and so it's possible that somebody from facilities can fill.
Could make that shift.
Mhm. So,
The intention too is to have the process done in time so that the budget is built appropriately. The only position that we would anticipate in hiring more than one would be the facilities maintenance technician. All of the other positions that are listed would be just a one FTE.
Yeah. And with that said, what would the total be, total number of positions?
Well, currently we have 13 and we need to cut to 11.
It's gonna be 11,
mhm.
so that averages one per building essentially.
And that includes me. Yeah,
He gets to stay too. We'll keep him.
maybe.
Move to approve the job descriptions as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. The only thing that I would like to add is in the past, we've talked about putting a date on the job description so that we know when we last reviewed them.
So
So-
underneath at the bottom, there is a date at the very bottom that says the date the board was approved and the date revised. It should be at the bottom.
If it's not, we'll make sure
It's
it's
not.
there and,
Yeah, it's not on
reflect tonight's
HVAC.
date if it's
So
approved.
I am looking at facilities maintenance technician.
So it's not on the HVAC
Oh, on the HVAC.
Oh, it's
on
at
it.
it went over to the top of page 4.
Okay,
That's where it is.
we'll just correct the format.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's there.
okay,
We will make sure it reflects appropriately.
perfect.
Oh yeah, but you're right, the other one does not have it, and that is, the HVAC
Yeah,
does not
HVAC.
have
Okay,
it.
Yeah.
we will put those on there for sure.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the STEM Charter MOU.
I have one question about this. So we have these 6 positions, which obviously the salaries and benefits and all that, but yet we have all this stuff laid out on the levy of teachers that we can't afford. So how is it that we reconcile these 6 positions opposed to the teachers or whomever might get cut if the levy doesn't pass? So we would still be able to hire these 6, but we wouldn't be able to keep the teachers?
No, these are not new people. We're right now we have 13. We're going down to 11, but we're restructuring
Okay.
so that we are being more efficient.
Okay, all right, so we're not hiring 6
No,
new
no,
positions.
this was the
We're
restructuring.
okay, I just want that
Yes, and there will
on the
be
recording.
more than one technician. We didn't want to call it a facilities maintenance worker, so
Okay.
so anybody who doesn't have the other title would have to be a technician.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
Yep.
So do we need to have a conversation on the MOU for STEM Charter Academy?
Yeah, based on input from ICRIMP and from our attorney, if our bus drivers are driving and they're on our buses, it's our liability. So I think Megan had said, you could rent the bus and allow them to drive, which makes me super uncomfortable. So I know we try to be good neighbors and help out, but
Well, Coeur d'Alene's just gonna get the money, because they're already doing it.
where
Coeur d'Alene rents their buses right now.
Coeur d'Alene rents their buses out.
To STEM, yeah. They rent buses out to groups.
Well, I didn't know that Scott was doing that. He didn't tell me that. They've been working with us to
Maybe
transport
just
their
ask them
kids.
what they're doing for the liability part of it.
So,
Gonna be the same.
if it's
They're
our
fine for
if
that
it's
as well,
our bus and we allow somebody else to drive it, it's still our insurance policy that pays.
It's the same thing as if you're transporting students in a private vehicle. The owner of that private vehicle stands the liability.
Yeah.
In the event of an accident, vehicle accident.
So if we're going to absorb or at least recognize that the liability lies with us, I would much rather have our people driving our buses than to rent them out to somebody we don't know what they're
And I would agree with that, and if that necessitates an adjustment in what we're charging them, then so be it.
How often I know we went
like-
through this before, but it was minimal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's like 5 times a year, maybe more than that.
Let me look. Give me one second.
More, you believe it's less? I don't think it's very often.
Is it true that we've been doing it for 14 years?
Since Dr. Ramos was here, there was a handshake and an agreement, but nobody put it in writing, and our transportation director didn't know that we didn't know because that's what she inherited.
Right.
So there was no reason for her to talk to us about it. So it wasn't until
We all inherited it.
right. So it wasn't until the bus tried to turn and fog and centered itself on a hill that we learned that. So
Superintendent Arnold.
yes, ma'am.
They used us 7 times in fiscal year 24 and only 3 times so far this year.
How many times in 24?
7.
And they paid for what when they used them?
They paid all of the mileage, they paid the.
Just the mileage.
Not, what about the cost of the driver?
That's what we're correcting with this MOU.
Oh, they just paid for the mileage.
That's how we were charging all the trips then.
I see
Okay.
9.
And what were they paying for the mileage then?
It was dependent on our state reimbursement
Oh,
rate.
okay, okay.
Yeah, these dates are weird though. So it's hard to.
I was just wondering if the
The
mileage.
dates are out of order, I just realized on my.
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
really wonky.
sorry. It was,
Really out of order.
Maria's really upset with me. That was a late night, I apologize.
We're trying to get used to the two
Yeah.
board meeting dates because we feel like we're constantly prepping for the next board meeting, so they keep sneaking up on us.
And the $4.06 came from.
That's our state reimbursement rate for the current fiscal year.
Okay, so basically the same thing we're just saying.
Right.
Oh, and the salary and benefit cost for the driver. Gotcha.
And then, to Trustee Jones' point, if we're the ones who will be liable if there's some sort of an accident, if you wanted to add cost or
Insurance rate plus, some kind of a.
Overhead, just
A premium.
Fee
Yeah.
for liability coverage. I think they'll understand that.
He said that he does, they'll pay whatever we feel is fair. They want to make sure they're paying their full.
Well, they're not gonna get into the business of training drivers and doing all that kind of stuff, you know that. So.
I'm just surprised that whatever insurance they're carrying wouldn't, I mean, it's fine we use our drivers, but I'm just surprised that whatever insurance they're carrying would not transfer, that the coverage that they had wouldn't be transferable depending on what vehicle they're driving. This is odd for business.
Right, yeah.
But okay, so this is for our driver, our buses, $4.06 a mile plus whatever that cost is. And then for them to have the liability of the $2 million coverage, which I would think they already have some, or we would just need a rider on their policy? Or?
Well, according to ICRIM, their policy, it would be our insurance policy that will pay because it's our bus. So.
Right, but are we gonna require them to carry some kind of liability, or no, because we're gonna just.
Because the liability is ours, but I think because it'll be our liability, I think Trustee Jones is suggesting that we increase what we're charging.
Be compensated for it.
Compensate.
Could we potentially, Chelsea brought up a great point, could we potentially put in there that if there is an insurance payout that they're responsible for that liability?
I don't know that you can legally do that.
Okay, I just throwing it out there.
Because their insurance company's not going to pay.
I wouldn't do that without consulting with ICRAM.
Right.
But
Yeah, and the other thing is.
Just our deductible portion of it, whatever our liability is. So we have to pay $25,000 because the bus was in an accident, that they would be responsible for that cost because it's their trip.
Shouldn't we actually calculate a flat rate based upon our burden and overhead all encompassing instead
That's
of?
part of the $4.06 that
That
is the
seems
state
really
rate.
cheap for a person and insurance
Oh,
and
so
mileage
the person will be
and-
charged separately. So the transportation, it'll be their salary and benefits for that specific trip.
Okay.
And
I don't
then-
think we should do it that way. I think we should do it differently.
Well, looking at what
Happy to
we
entertain other
build,
ideas.
I mean, either these people aren't going very far, like around the block maybe? I don't know. I mean, $86.12 to use a big bus?
So the thing with it previous to now is we were only charging the state reimbursement rate. They were not being charged for the drivers. So we're fixing that with this MOU.
Yeah, the day that they high centered, they were picking the kids up to take them to Lewiston.
Is that what the $1,100 or
Possibly.
So we charged them $1,100 to drive to Lewiston?
Yes, at the $4.06 reimbursement rate.
Huh. Okay.
you're still awaiting a reply from iCrimp on the MOU?
Yeah, I sent him, and I sent him a nudge too, just checking back in. I haven't heard from him. So he's usually really fast at responding, so he may be on vacation. But I have not heard back from him.
We're still not under any time constraint with this, are we?
They're just waiting. He did reach out and ask where we were in the process, because I think they've got a trip that they'd like to be able to reach out to us and utilize our buses, but until the MOU saying they can't. So.
Is there anything, I mean, are we waiting on something back from iCrimp or?
Yeah.
Oh, we are. So we can't approve it anyways. So we need a motion to table, is that where we're at?
Yeah, the board had asked me to, because Chad in his response to me had said, I'm happy to look at the MOU if you want me to, so I sent it to him, but I haven't heard back from him, so.
Okay. So I make a motion to table the state charter MOU until we hear back, and then we can schedule it in the meeting, yeah.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving on to Chromebooks.
Just make myself a note. So, as the board is aware, we have had a little bit of an issue over at Lakeland Middle School, specifically with regard to Chromebooks. It sounds like one of our students was taught how to go around our firewall and security system through a proxy called Proxy. And so once you put that into your address bar and you go there, and I am not a technology person, but it allows you to go to sites that our firewall wouldn't allow. And then when there's a history search, it doesn't show that our kids were places they shouldn't have been. So it's been very hard to track. We met with 2 sets of parents. One of the things that came up was there are software programs that we can use in conjunction with our firewall, which as soon as a kiddo puts a certain word into the search bar, if it's a word that is problematic, there's an alert that goes to the principal and to the teacher, so they can right away get on the computer to see what's being used for. Proxy would be one of those things, because we know that that's how they're getting around our firewall. The other issue that we just found out that we were having is our kids are very technologically savvy, and so even though they don't have their cell phones out when they're at school, they're in their backpacks or they're in their pockets, but they have their personal hotspot on. And so the other thing that they're doing is going to the Chromebook Wi-Fi setting, and they are changing from this district's Wi-Fi to their hotspot, and now there is no firewall. They can do whatever they want at that point. So some of the things we talked about over at Lakeland Middle School is if the kids are on their Chromebooks, the class-wise display is on the whiteboard for everybody kind of to see, which might keep the kids in check a little bit, but then it allows the teacher to be moving around and still be able to look up and see. One of the misunderstandings we had to clear up is when the kids go outside of our firewall and go to a site, they're no longer on our system. Their screen goes gray in class-wise, and teachers just assumed that the program was not and this is, I checked with our 2 high school principals, the 2 comprehensive high school principals, and the Timberlake Middle School principal. They are not aware of or having issues like this. And
Probably not aware.
Right. So, but there's a little more maturity at the high school level too. But anyway, yeah, you're right. It's what do we know, right? But it is hard to always stay on top of this because I think the kids, in a lot of ways, are a lot smarter about technology than the adults in the room, and they have figured out ways to kind of get ahead of us. And so, when we met with the parents, I did let them know that because they had reached out to the board that I was going to add this as an agenda item to get some direction from the board above and beyond what we're already doing, and then we would get back to let the parents know kind of what this conversation was. I did invite them to come to tonight's board meeting also.
So to begin with, I don't think isolated it to a school is.
It's just right now that's where we're getting the information. Well, like I said, it's.
But the information's been around for years. I mean.
I say you shut down the internet until you figure out what's going on.
Well, the thing is number one, I find it very, 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 very hard to believe, knowing what little bit I know about these machines that they issue to everybody, that they can't tell where somebody's been, regardless of the internet connection. Number two, you're never gonna, it's not a person's fault, it's not anything. It's technology. It doesn't matter what you do, you're never gonna stop them from bypassing the network, period. It will that just will never happen. It's impossible, right? That's why everything's hacked continuously. Yeah, you can educate the teachers a little bit and they can look and say, oh, your screen shouldn't be gray or whatever, but it's the cost of putting technology into kids' hands. And here's the other thing is not only that, but some of the things that we think are safe for kids to be in, whether it's curriculum, whether it's games, learning games, whatever, they are so full of pedophiles, it is ridiculous. And they wait in there for children and they pose themselves as children. And I don't care if you're in a school, you're at home, you're sitting at, the fast food place, whatever. It's as soon as you put technology in a child's hand, you have opened them up to that world. So there's nobody to quote blame. Yeah, we could look, yeah, we could say, it's impossible that they can, they know where the machine's at. They know what the machine has accessed. They know where, if they don't, then you need a whole new technology department. If they can't tell by the profile of every single person that logs on and where they've been and what they're doing on a piece of equipment you own, because here's the other thing, is there's a lot of phishing that goes on, and there's also a lot of in-house stuff that goes on, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, the hacking, but what they do is they create a social engineering hacking. They create a relationship with the person inside, right? And the next thing you know, you're siphoned for millions of dollars or whatever else, personal information, credit card information, because they got one of these kids to be one of their friends. So as soon as you put technology into their hands, that's just the world you've opened them up to. And there's a couple of people, there's a guy out there, 0 Day, he used to be a bad hacker, now he's a quote white hat hacker. But he does all those things for free, and he'll look at your network and tell you exactly where all of it, and his number one thing is hunting down these pedophiles. But it doesn't matter what school it's at, that's all irrelevant, whether they learned it or not. It's not a matter of learning. These proxies like Hide My Ass or whatever you're out there using, they've always been around. That's technology 101. Our guys, I'm sure, know that. They have to know that. And once they go around our network, there's nothing we can do about it, right? And that's just the nature of the beast. It's unfortunate that these kids who have that knowledge we can't harness to funnel it in the right direction, right? Well, so I don't think there's anybody to blame. The only way you're going to get rid of it, and I know the parents are all up in arms over it and stuff, but kids are gonna do everything you tell them not to do, right? And when you tell them they can't break it, they're gonna break it. So that's where we're at. Unless you remove the technology out of their hands and it becomes more controlled at a computer lab or something like that, this is just the nature of the beast. It will never go away. It's always going to be there. And, you know, the world is just so, people just do not understand that world on a daily basis. It is really, 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 really bad. You know, really bad. And as soon as we put, I mean, might as well hand them a firearm in some instances. It's the same thing. So, and then we want to get AI curriculum and give it to them. It's like, you can't do that. But anyways, that's the bottom line. Unless you remove the Chromebook, it's just, that's the world that we're in.
So are you familiar at all with some of the software programs that you can use that, like Gaggle is the one that I can think of off the top of my head, where if a student types in naked, that it sends an alert immediately to the administrator and the teacher so that they can get to the student before
you can get all that for free. You don't even have to buy it. I mean, hacking 101, you could put a keylogger and know every single little key that's pressed on the machine and who it belonged to. I mean, that's what I'm saying. This is rudimentary technology 101, and for us not to have it is crazy. But I mean, I feel like the broken record. I've been saying it since I've been sitting here, and everybody, just keeps telling me how great it all is.
Well, didn't we discuss when I was going through the bill list, a bill that we just paid for security, computer security?
The Sophos.
Yeah.
That's the antivirus.
That's all it does?
The Sophos is antivirus.
The thing is that we can only control what's in our house, and these guys are taking our equipment and going outside of our house while they're in our house. There's no way to stop them from doing that unless you remove total control of the computer from them. I don't care, like I said, what software you put on, whatever. I mean, you can put a keylogger on and know everywhere they're going. But I just find it hard to believe that we don't have something that tells us. I mean, I know we were tracking people to California by IP address, so for them to tell me that we don't know where they've been and what they're doing, I don't buy it.
Yeah, what they told me was they can go in and see the normal sites that they're actually, like when they're sitting in our classroom, if they're on our website, they can see that. But if they go to, what I was told, and I am not a technology person, is that people have created these proxy sites specifically for people to be able to hide the IP address of where they're going.
Okay, but back up.
Okay.
Right? Okay, but they already went through the door. They already logged onto your machine before they went to the next door. So why can't they tell us who logged on that machine and then, where they, I mean, there again, it's so elementary. I
asked that question, and what I was told was the IP address that comes up when they do the search on the computer is a fake IP address.
That's correct. That's correct. But you need to back up. They've already logged on. Okay, that IP address is after they've logged on and they've said, I'm, John McIntosh at Lakeland Elementary or whatever. I've already logged on. Now I'm going to go to wherever and get my little proxy IP. Well, I'm already on the machine. So we should know who is on the machine, who deviated. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Under that person's profile, they suck everything there is, or they were, off of these Chromebooks. That's why I quit using them. They track every single little thing so I'm so not understanding why they can't tell us that. I mean, I scrolled for like 2 minutes in one meeting showing everybody everything they track. So anyways, even if we went to the person, found the person and said, hey, you John McIntosh, you're doing this, that, and the other thing, they're not doing it behind our firewall. They're not doing it. We're not. The only key we're giving them to do this thing is the Chromebook. So it doesn't matter how many things we try to put in their way, they're not using that. They're going
They're going around
outside.
it. Yep.
Yeah.
And they're just taking themselves off of
Right.
our network and putting
Right.
themselves on their hotspots.
Exactly. So the only way to get rid of it is take away the Chromebook. That's the only way. Otherwise, we might as well just move on, and there's no sense in buying more software or trying to, I mean, I think that we should have some kind of actual third-party penetration testing. I mean, and most of them will do it for free, especially when there's kids involved, so that we do know who is talking to our kids, who is befriending our kids, where are they going. I mean, I can send you some of that information.
Yeah, will you? So
Yeah.
Yeah, third party, what'd you call it?
Penetration testing.
Okay.
Those are the, you know, but there again, until you take the Chromebook away, it's just life. That's the way it is.
It's just hard because, you know, safety is our number one priority.
Right.
And it's hard to look parents in the eyes and say we're doing the best we can to keep your child safe. But they are
Circumvent.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
very savvy. And parents, like we've got one little boy right now who's not attending class because the parents don't want him in a classroom where they're using a Chromebook. So he's missing out on the dialogue and the instruction.
Yeah, but how much, but what is he really missing out on? Because you have to equate in the detriment of having access to the thing. So really, what is he missing out? Even like Roblox, this real great gaming system for, I mean, there's a black web market on Roblox. You can buy everything you can think of under the sun on a kid's game. You're not supposed to be over 13 years old on there. We're just too uneducated. We should just take them away, go back to computer lab and call it good. It's really become very dangerous, you know, or you just have to, I don't know, do what? I don't know how you do it because there's no way to stop them from taking the equipment and going around everything that we put in. And that was the one thing I was trying to get across to somebody. It's where they're not doing it through us, right? They are not doing it through us. I mean, I just tried to go to a couple of proxies here, and I can't get to them. It tells me you're not allowed to go there. You know, blah 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 blah, right? Because we're doing what we're supposed to be doing in that instance.
Chromebook should have a setting on them where you can't get on any other network but ours. Is that right? I mean, all my computer experience is like I can't get on any other network except this one.
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
If
Well,
you have
I
a
can't.
hotspot, if you have a hotspot on your phone, you can certainly get on
Yeah,
that
you just have
hotspot.
to turn it on. Yeah, you can. I mean, and you could probably, you know, come up with some registry entries or something and lock it down. Which pretty much their profiles are locked down anyways. That's why you have to give your name when you log on, so it knows what to serve you for security. But there again, here again, that's just another challenge. I mean, people make hundreds of millions of dollars doing nothing but hacking, and that's all they do all day long is hack the crap out of everything. So the only way to not do it is to remove the Chromebook. It's the only way. Otherwise, we're just wasting time, we're wasting money. I know the parents are freaking out and irritated and all that, but kids are gonna be kids, you know. I mean, adults make dumb decisions too. Adults make decisions every day we know we shouldn't be making. So, you know, that's just the nature of the beast. It's not a safe arena for kids. Why do you think all those people who created all this don't give it to their kids? None of them till they're about 16 or 17 years old. No access.
Why can't we go back to having computer labs, at least in elementary and at the middle school? I get your little note here that says that it makes it challenging and very lengthy for computer labs, but we did it for many years.
We did, but that was before, so at the elementary level, that was when the only testing that happened in the lab was ISAT testing. And now the entire IRI is on a computer and it's monthly and it's K3. And then there's a new version of it coming where there is some ability for kids to practice fluency, for example. where they read it into the microphone and immediately they get the corrections. So we could do that, but then it just, they're not getting their technology time because they're at least once a month they're taking their monthly assessment. So and then the other part of that is it literally at Betty Kiefer when I was there, and then we had 550 kids at that point in time, but it took us 6 full weeks to do ISAT testing, and with everybody having a Chromebook, they can test an entire grade level all on the same day, in the same subject area, and so we're able to teach longer and test less, take less time for testing. But
So could they just use a Chromebook cart so that everything's locked up, literally locked up, and nobody has access until it's time to have access, and then it's immediately locked up? Because the other thing I heard is they're taking these home, so that's another thing. There's no accountability.
They're sneaking them home.
Yeah, well, whatever way, if there's supposed to be 35 Chromebooks on my cart, I should have enough sense to start checking kids' backpacks if there's not 35 Chromebooks.
Yes.
So, you know, that's the only, I mean, and you're still not going to get away around it. You're just not, you know, you can minimize it more by doing that, which basically comes to a rolling computer lab, you know.
And then when kids have to type an essay or whatever, you can pull the Chromebook out, they can type their essay and put it back in.
They can take the internet access away from them. They can do that so that they cannot access the internet. They can only access our network.
Right.
You know.
So if they do that,
But that doesn't prevent the hotspot though, does it?
There's a setting on there.
Yeah, if you turn it off or it doesn't have, well, here's a no, you can't. I mean, yes and no. No, because they would have to have that wireless to get on our network. Right? If it was wired, I'd say yeah, but not wireless. No, because once they have wireless, we can turn it off or take it away, but they can always turn it back on or find a way around it. You know? If they didn't have to have access to our network, you know, because that's where everything would have to live then. You know, but you could restrict the amount of time allowed on the internet, but there again doesn't take away the hotspot. You know, there's no way to get around them circumventing. You know, there's just
well, there's no really compelling reason for elementary students to be on the internet, is there?
just for their for elementary or primary kids for their testing.
For the testing. So if we limited access in the elementary to learning keyboarding and as necessary, and the time that they use for testing, then that would take care of it.
So Ramona, I don't know. I'm going to ask because I don't know. Our math program has a big component of that is the individualized pathway to fill in learning gaps, and that's where we're actually seeing kids making a lot of gains, and we've got kids who are making their stretch goals 2 years in a row and getting from below proficient to proficient. Does that require an internet to be able to do that pathway, or is that if once it's on the?
I would imagine they're connected to their servers.
That's what I would just say that's exactly what Trustee Jones is talking about. Like there's assessment tools. It doesn't have to just be the IRI, but if you limit it to assessment tools and you just define what those are on a given time, and if they don't have the internet, if they don't have a Chromebook, they can't have an internet.
Right, and the minimum amount of time that they have, and making sure they're locked up in the cart and accounted for, you know. And I think that somebody should be responsible reading some reports of what these kids are doing with this technology we're giving them. The computers have the ability to give you a printout of who logged on and where'd they go, even if they circumvented you. And for us not to have that, I mean, you know, Well, yeah, I mean, you can minimize it by doing that, you know. I don't think most of your offenders are at the elementary level, though. They're gonna be that junior high.
No, but I think you can extend that K8,
Yeah.
K8.
Yep.
And it's basically say the same thing. So in math, they're gonna do their pathway. They would have access to it. They have their NWEA assessment that we do.
I think one of the problems we have, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a tendency on the part of teachers sometimes to use the Chromebook as a reward for students who finish work early, or you know, as a way to occupy them while they're trying to work with somebody else, that sort of thing. And that's where some of these problems are coming from, I think.
Yeah.
Well, it's just the world we live in. It's just, you know, kids have phones at a really young age. They, you know, they're all exposed to all kinds of tech. I mean, it's just their world, you know. They go to the fast food and they order on a computer. They go, I mean, their whole world is like that. So we have to, they really don't need, that's why I say, even like this magic AI software is so, I mean, 90% of our population already knows all that because it's their life. They don't know any world outside of that. You know, they know all about the computer. They know how to type things out and how to get around and go where. And I mean, you got kids as young as 6 and 8 years old that have their own YouTube channel, raking in millions of dollars. You have, you know, websites where kids are already, I mean, the technology gap is ginormous between education and the technology world. Like I said, I wish we had the way to
get rid of it.
Well, no, but these kids that have this inkling to do these things, guide them and, you know, take that thing and make it better. We don't have those bodies. We don't have those people.
Well, we have that in all aspects of the world too,
right?
Not just computers.
So at the middle school, aside from state testing requirements, what else are you stating that they need these Chromebooks for?
In English, they have to write write essays. That's part of their grade.
But they don't need internet access to do that.
Right. Well.
Why can't they write it on a piece of paper? I mean,
because they don't know how to write.
What did you say?
I know. Heaven forbid we go back.
Remember how many
paper.
statements we've had to read of their handwriting?
I
Could
understand
you imagine
that.
having to read teacher?
Maybe we might get back into fine motor skill development.
Right.
Who knows? But couldn't that be done on pen and paper?
No, because part of the standards is that the kids understand and can write an MLA format, and so they have to have access and ability to practice that with the way they cite the works.
So are they searching MLA format when they're doing these essays, or do they have a piece of paper that shows them that?
Well, they have it on the board. The teacher is showing them that, yes, but they have to be able to type it in that format. So, and I don't know. I mean, we went away from Microsoft Office because it's expensive to put a license on all of our computers, and Google is free. And you can set Google up to work offline, right? Remember?
Yes.
So we could type in the Google Doc and be offline.
I mean, there's 2 other huge Office suites out there also, which I'm sure the tech guys know about, like Libre and my brain's too tired, I can't think of the other one, but they know they Microsoft mimics them. Microsoft came, those guys all existed before Mr. Gates. Mr. Gates took their stuff and made money with it, but you can get all of those for free, and it's everything. It's like Excel and PowerPoint and Word, and it's everything. And it's free. It costs you absolutely nothing. And I mean, there's whole curriculums that are free in the open source world But that guy I was telling you about, I'd have to look up, his name is Ryan Montgomery. And he has a couple of companies. And I don't remember what the name of the one is. I'll find it and give it to you.
What would you like from us about this?
I just wanted to have a discussion and get a sense of, where the board is and what they would like to see. I think it would be problematic at the middle school to say there's absolutely no internet access, because there are lessons and projects and things that we do with kids that require that. I agree with Ramona that we definitely need to do a better job of accounting for the Chromebooks and having a system. In my mind, Chromebooks shouldn't be going home at the middle school.
There's no reason for them to leave the classroom.
Right. So they need to dial in the system they're using to make sure that at the end of every class, the teacher can account for the Chromebooks, that if they were used, they're all back where they belong and nobody's got one in their backpack. Because that was a big part of the conversation that we had with the parents, was they didn't realize that their son was checking a Chromebook out and bringing it home. And so they didn't know to watch for it. So that if we were going to
Well,
allow,
he wasn't showing them.
no, and if we were going to allow kids to check out a Chromebook, and I can't think of a reason that we would do that at the middle school, but maybe there is. There, in my mind, then there needs to be an email home to the parents letting them know that, or a text, or that talking to them through the app on the phone that they have, that your child's bringing a Chromebook home tonight to work on this, so that parents can.
I don't think there's any
where it is.
wrong, with them using a pencil and paper either, because you can't read their writing. I don't even know if half of them know how to properly create the letter. They're so removed from this.
Right. Well, there's new legislation. So we're required to teach cursive in 3rd grade, or at least starting at 3rd grade, or by third grade. And then in 5th grade now, they have to demonstrate proficiency with cursive. And the state's going to come up with some way to measure that. We haven't seen it yet, but that's coming. So our legislators are concerned that cursive writing is kind of becoming a lost art form because of the computers. But none of us turn in a report that's handwritten. They're all done on.
Right, but your brain's already developed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And the way this is developing the brain is a whole nother discussion.
Unfortunately, that starts at a young age.
So the state's going backwards.
Right, but we don't
so
need
we should do that.
Yeah, we don't need to enforce it though. We need to get away from taking the easy way out. Oh, I got it from teachers, pay teachers. Oh, you might as well go to Pinterest or to IG and download it. We need to go back to the thing that creates healthy brains and healthy kids. His company is called Pin Tester.
That's Ryan
Montgomery, yeah.
Pin Tester?
Yep.
And what does that do?
Cybersecurity services. Penetration testing.
Oh, that was the one you were talking
about?
Okay. That's the penetration testing.
Yeah, but they do everything, full risk assessment and all that, but his number one focus now, he's outside of being the world-renowned hacker, he's a white hat hacker now, but is, this relationship between these weirdos and children, because the school's a hot spot. You hear all the time on the news, the guy from Ohio hooked up with the little girl whose dad was a cop in California. He came out, they snuffed the whole family, and she got in the car and left with him. He was a grown man. She was 13, he was 32, through the school network, I'm sorry. And that's happening continuously all the time.
That's why parents are concerned.
Yeah. And by us saying, you gotta have it, you gotta have it, you gotta have it. We should be looking at the very minimal thing we have to meet and, work their little brains. Because, anyways, who knows how bad it really is? We don't even know. You know, there's a, well, we could have a long discussion, but anyways, there's just so much stuff out there. It's unreal.
Thank you for that discussion.
Alright, well, I guess just for giggles, because this is an action item, I'd like to make a motion to remove Chromebooks from K through 8 with the exception of their usage for state mandated testing and testing skill development.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
3-4, 2 against, motion carries.
So does that mean they can't use the computers to write their papers?
If it's testing skill development, which from what you shared with me is when they do their ELA portion of the state testing, they have to type in their essays. So if they need to type in their essays for testing development, skill development, that's what I was trying to include.
Okay.
Because so they also need it for their pathways for mathematics. So. Great, moving on to discussion items. First item is the April 2nd board meeting, which would be our next board meeting that we are, apparently the district will be on spring break, so the request is not to hold the meeting.
Okay.
Do we have any qualms about that?
So what is that? Just one meeting that month, or move the meeting itself to when is spring break over?
Spring break is over on, I think we come back on April 7th, Monday.
Oh, the following week? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I think if we bumped it a week, we would run into the problem of
They would
no one
need to
having
be
time
preparing.
to be
Yeah,
to
during,
prepare.
yeah.
So I believe the request is just to vacate that meeting.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that, other than if something was to happen, I mean, when we need to have a meeting, I don't want to have to wait all the way till the end of the month if there's an issue.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. That would be my only thing, but yeah, I'm fine with that.
Next week.
It's the 31st to the 4th of April. It's a week later than it.
Yeah. Second. Yeah.
Yep.
I did add it on the board calendar.
He's not looking at the board calendar, he's looking at his own personal calendar.
Just so you know, it's on the board calendar, just for date purposes.
Okay, let's move on to the transportation billing follow-up.
I have just one question right off the bat. I don't understand why on the new plan, the non-reimbursable would only be charged at $1 per
So,
mile driven instead
was-
of the 4.
Instead of the 4.
4 instead of the 406.
Because that and the $1 was an easier way to type it out than the math that I had done to make it make sense to me. So in my mind, we needed to pay for, and not in just my mind, in having discussions with all of the other districts and how they were billing out, we were vastly different in overcharging our schools for athletic or non-reimbursable trips. So I did put $1, but it's because I thought of 6 miles, they're getting roughly 6 miles per gallon and then charging them back about $6 per gallon, $6 per. So, I mean, it would equate to $1 a mile.
So basically, if we're supposed to charge them 4, we were charging them 5. Is that what you're saying? So that's why it's $1?
No, so what we were doing is charging them what the state reimbursement rate was $4.06 per mile driven, which is
a lot.
A lot. It's because it's for the wear and tear on the bus. It's for a whole, that's just how the state has come up with that amount, which is overcharging our schools for this trip. So I wanted to get more of what it costs per gallon to get them there. A little bit over, obviously, to try to make up for that wear and tear that does happen on those buses while you're driving these big long trips, but it's not nearly that $4.06 a mile that we were charging them. So, for example, Post Falls School District charges $7 per gallon, and I moved us to $6 per gallon because Post Falls was kind of on the higher end. Coeur d'Alene we're right between Post Falls and Coeur d'Alene. I think Coeur d'Alene is more of like $4.50 per gallon is what they're charging their athletic department. So
Per gallon or mile?
per gallon. So they're dividing it, they're taking their mileage, dividing it by 6, and then multiplying that by a gallon rate.
Interesting way to do it.
Yeah.
So we're gonna charge our schools less if it's a non-reimbursable trip than if it's a reimbursable trip?
So, yes, because we're charging them what the cost is, what the actual cost is for that trip. We're not going to get reimbursed for them by the state because it's late and I'm trying to figure out.
It's not related to education.
Yes.
Academics.
So we're just not charging them what the reimbursable rate is because it's not a reimbursable trip. We're getting reimbursed by the state at $4.06 a mile, which is just an astronomical charge for our athletic departments to pay for when you're taking a trip down to Lewiston and it's costing them $1,500 to go down there and back.
But we're not getting reimbursed that money, so
we're trying to charge them what it actually costs to take the trip down there.
So how long is it? Oh, sorry.
When you say actual cost, you're talking about fuel cost?
Fuel cost and cost of the driver.
And driver cost, okay.
With a little bit of cushion for wear and tear on the bus.
And that's calculated in based on that formula that you used. And average mileage is 6 miles to the gallon.
That's what the other schools were charging. Yes.
6 miles per gallon?
That's what the mechanic said. 6 to 8.
Diesel?
That's between diesel and gas.
They won't get the same mileage, so.
No, that's why it's 6 to 8.
So we were overcharging our schools?
Yes.
In my opinion, yes. But it's what we inherited. Nobody really knew. We just all spent the time.
But how long has that been going on that we've been overcharging them?
Well, overcharging is an opinion. Because here's the other thing is that actually your tax dollars pay for all the other things.
And it's moving from the general fund to the general fund.
Yeah. So the idea they were overcharged is just because of the formula that was used. So they're doing a non-tax funded thing with a tax funded thing. And we're trying to get the cost in there. So I guess my question would be, why is it the $4.06? Why is that? That's what the state reimburses, and that covers everything, but that doesn't cover the driver and all that other stuff.
Yes.
So So it's a
And in
mile.
some cases, not all of, there are very, very few of them, but in some cases, it's actually is less expensive to charge that $4.06 per mile than to charge
Yeah.
that plus the driver. So it's a few cases in there that have, especially if you look at Lakeland Middle School, for some reason, there's almost lines out perfectly on how much they've saved, because for some reason, their calculation is very, very close to the $4.06 to this, what we're doing here. But if you look at the high school level, they're saving almost $10,000 over the, when I say saving, like you said, it's but almost $10,000 each over the course from August until now, till the end of February.
But that comes out of the sports budget, right?
Comes out of the sports budget, yep.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's moving from general fund to general fund to cover the costs.
So miles driven times $1 plus the driver's hourly times 27.
Are we just flat rating a driver's cost, or is it depending on who the driver is?
I flat
or-
rated it, yeah.
And how did we get the flat rate?
It's an average.
So I thought.
Yeah. Some are less, some are more. And we compared this to, I think, 7 different districts, and everybody does something so vast, like everybody is so different. Some don't charge at all for the athletics, and they put it directly, that budget, they put it directly into the transportation's budget. So the schools don't get billed for it, it just comes out of transportation, but it's taking levy dollars and putting it into the transportation budget as opposed to the athletic budget.
Yeah. I don't have any more questions on it.
Well, I'm glad to see that we're not charging as much as we were for something that we want our sports programs to do. It's disappointing that that no one's ever looked into this to figure out, are we doing it correctly?
Yeah, and I even called the state and asked if they had any recommendations, and they said that they keep their hands out of it. Because I was hoping they could be like, well, here's what we recommend schools do, but they've said we don't want to give any recommendation.
Yeah.
So the total adjustment figure that you have here for each school are the dollars that will be returned?
Yeah, so what I do is a journal entry to move the funds from their athletic budget into the transportation's revenue area. And so I've done a couple of those throughout the year already. I reversed those and then made a correction. So that's their savings. So it was returned to them, and then I rebuild them accurately or using this new method.
Which will help them, they'll hopefully stay within their budget for transportation for athletics this year, because we only had 1.3 million in the levy for the last 2 years for athletics, and so we went to the 80s this year and said, this is what we have, and we have to try to figure out where we can cut so we can stay within this budget and not go over. And they were really stressed about what it was going to look like for spring sports with transportation, and so this will help significantly. So they felt much better.
Okay.
So we were charging the schools what we were being reimbursed, plus adding.
The reimbursement rate, not what we were actually being reimbursed for.
We
the
don't-
reimbursement rate of 4.06,
Yeah, right.
which is what we would receive, correct?
Not for
No,
athletics.
We
don't
wouldn't
get
receive
any.
anything for that.
Okay.
That's the rate.
Somebody landed on that, whatever, as a way to back charge the schools for transportation. And it's just using the rate that the state indicates that we would get for normal yellow bus transportation.
Right.
Just doesn't make sense.
No, I understand that, but
To charge our buildings that way.
yeah, but plus we're charging, yeah, that's a lot of dollars. So I guess if we're and maybe I'm not looking at this from the right angle, which is very probable. How is it that if we're using our own money to pay for, other than, the athletic budgets at the schools, I believe they have monies in there that are not taxpayer dollars, that they're from concessions or they're from
At their
gate
building,
field.
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if they have that money and they're paying for this and it's going over into the transportation world, how are we still so out of balance in transportation that we needed to ask for another $1 million to cover them?
So that money is not the money that they're paying us. Paying us for the transportation does not come from their buildings. It does not come from their concessions. It doesn't come from anything like that. That is their levied amount budgeted that I'm moving from the general fund to another piece of the general fund.
Okay.
So from a general fund expense account to a general fund revenue account. It is not from their buildings. It's not their fundraised dollars. It is levied dollars, that 1.3 million.
Okay.
And the 500,000 now that's on the ballot for the levy is really related to the fact that when the state does reimburse us, they only reimburse us up to 85% for our to and from school, based on last year's. So it's 85% of what we spent last year. So it doesn't account for any increased costs or any of that. So there's always going to be a gap between what we get from the state and what we pay, because they start off right off the bat 15% under the 100%, and it's not this year's, it's
What is
cost, it's
their
last year's.
reasoning for that? What is the rationale behind it?
I have
You want rationale?
no idea.
That's the Idaho legislature.
Well, I don't know, the legislators
That is
do a lot of
odd.
things that when you call the state says it's, discretionary, but when the legislators are voting on it, they're saying, no, we didn't want it to be discretionary. So I don't know who, but somebody needs to write down the 15%. I'm curious, I have to look. It's like,
Well, and it's really closer
It was that
to,
way when I was.
Yeah.
And our reimbursement
it's
is
closer
not
to an
85.
average of 65% when you look at it, because it's anywhere from 50 to 85 is what they're
Right.
reimbursing. And when I looked at it, what the expense for what we were actually receiving is closer to a 65% reimbursement rate from what we spent to what we're actually getting from the state.
That's where that gap is coming.
Yeah.
Buy more buses and hire drivers, and we'll just farm them out to everybody. And tell them we'll take
Gotta
over
make
their,
some revenue,
we'll
right?
take over their routes. Get our percentage up.
All right, so on that note, thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you.
We don't have any possible action items. We do have some dates to remember. Policy Committee, Town Hall meeting at Hauser Lake, Policy Committee, and Spring Break. Hey, it's right there on the agenda. Do we have any input for future agenda items?
My dad would like to figure out how we're gonna move forward with that veteran memorial
Okay.
and how we're gonna lease it or whatever.
Okay. can you note that down? The Veteran Memorial. Okay.
I would like to talk about how we're going to, how staffing, specifically classified or certified staffing, is going to look regardless of whether we have the levy or not.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just thinking
I
along that
think that
line.
we need to have a plan, because I think there's a lot of teachers that are getting scared and they're potentially unnecessarily leaving our district, unfortunately. So,
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I was going to say along that, what Randy was saying, I was just thinking the same thing, not only that, but we need to, and I know we have to wait for some money, but I think we need to start thinking about these budget, you know, and if we have to do 2 different budgets, or, I mean, I
Right.
don't know how all that's going to look. Wait till after the levy, I guess, or I'm not sure.
Well, it's my understanding we can't wait till after the levy because of the time frame. So we have to have the budget prepared before the levy. So we have to have 2 budgets prepared, which would be one with and one without.
Right.
And that's what Jessica was working on.
Yeah.
Great. So on that note, we'll go ahead and end the regular session. I would like a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 742061B.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. We need a roll call vote.
Trustee Jones?
Yes.
Trustee Baines? Chair Thompson?
Yes.
Trustee Quimby?
Yes.
Vice Chair Grissom?
Yes.
On that, we'll take a 5-minute recess to go back. Coming out of executive session, there are no post-executive action items at this time. And we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. It's 10:59.
Microphone.